The most important thing in the world is health, because you have nothing if you're dying. Second thing is family and friends who you love. And the third is money, because it's everything else. The smartest thing the rich people ever did was convince the broke people that money doesn't make you happy. Biggest scam alive, because money is freedom. It's freedom to drive what you want, eat where you want, go where you want. Money is freedom. So you want to say money doesn't buy happiness, well then you're saying you're happy to be a slave, because only money is going to give you freedom. So money absolutely is happiness, because freedom is a bare minimum requisite to happiness. I can't think of many scenarios where being rich was a detriment over being poor. There's not many. I think money is a bare minimum requirement for happiness, especially if you're a masculine man who wants to outcompete. Then you need money, because money is basically everything. And they've convinced people, the poor people, oh yeah, he has money, but I have friends and family who love me. So do I. People are psyoped into thinking that rich people are somehow lacking somewhere else. And I'm sure some of them are, but not all of them. There are some people that have everything, just have to accept it. Some people just have it all. They have friends and family and good relationships and love their kids and a bunch of money. And if that doesn't anger you to get up and make a bunch of money, well, I don't know what will.
The solutions I've come up with in my mind, of course, are money, because money is power. I want people to understand that when we talk about how money is the root of all evil, money is also the root of all good. Money is the vested time and interest of other humans. If you have a bunch of money, you have the stored energy of other people. And I'll give you a very simple example. I have money, so I can get somebody to sweep my floor. I have their stored time and energy in a note or on a bank balance, where I can make them sweep the floor for as many hours as I so choose, because I can afford to pay them. It's the stored time and energy of other people. So for evil to be done, it requires the time and energy of humans. And for good to be done, it requires the time and energy of humans. So money is like gunpowder. It can be used for good. It can be used for bad. It's like germ theory. You can save people's lives, or you can create a pathogen that decimates a populace. So it can go both ways. Money is certainly an answer, because if you're completely broke, it's hard for you to influence other people and influence the world by extension. So money is super important. And the other thing I think is important is fraternity and brotherhood and living for something larger than just money itself. I've never in my life seen anyone who's determined to get something not get it. I've never seen somebody who is determined in their heart to get something not get it. The universe and God is so giving and providing. People think it's difficult out here. I disagree. I've never seen someone wake up and say, nah, this is all I care about. This is all I want. Not get it. Everyone who thought that way in fighting was a world champion. Everyone who thought that way about money was rich. I've never seen anyone fail. Bro, I've seen people with no credit score and no job determined to get an R8 manage to get one on finance somehow. I've seen it. If it's all you want, you're going to get it.
You're going to find a way to get it.
You're going to find a way.
Yeah.
People go, oh, I want this. If you wanted it, you'd have it. People often say, if you try your best, it's okay to fail. But what they don't understand, the true secret to the universe is that if you try your best, you never fail.
Yeah.
That's what people don't understand. And most people aren't trying. They aren't trying. They don't know what trying is. People are genuinely not out here giving their absolute best, because if you were, you'd have everything you've ever desired. You'd have anything you've ever wanted and asked for. Instead, what people do is they cope and convince themselves they're trying. Oh, I tried, but I need a work-life balance, and it's hard, and I was trying. All garbage, all cope.
I can't stop myself working as a person who doesn't need money. And then there's people with no money who don't work. It blows my mind, which is why the winners are winners and the losers are losers. Losers do a little bit of work and rest. Winners work as hard as possible and worry they're not working hard enough. It's just a separation of personality types. I have something I sent in my email recently. I said, you could give the average man a brand new Ferrari and a road map and a coffee and a full tank of gas and tell him the destination, success. And halfway along the drive, he'll quit because it's too far. No matter how well you set it up for people, they'll quit.
It's over 10% into the year now. I wonder if anyone who made a New Year's resolution sits and says, it's over 10% into the year. Am I at 10% of my goal? Because your ass said you were going to be a millionaire when you were drunk on New Year's Eve. Well, you need to have 100 grand saved. Do you have 100,000? Have you even done the feedback on your own goal you made 30 short days ago to realize that you're nowhere near it and you're not going to make it? No. Oh, I got the rest of the year. And then wonder why they fail. You should have a daily target. Not enough people look back on what they did and identify where they made a mistake. And some people will do it when they lose, but the true professionals do it when they win. When my dad was playing a chess game, if he won the game, he would still analyze the game and see if he could have lost, where it could have gone wrong, how he could have won faster, what mistakes he did make, what he did well, what he did wrong, win or lose. So many people will sit in a scenario where everything went wrong and go, in fact, correction, not so many people. I would say 75% of people will not ever self-analyze the situation they're in. They'll blame everyone else. If they went to jail like I did, they'd say, they put me in jail because they're liars and the Matrix did it. Fine. True. But when I was in jail, I was like, how did I get here? What did I do? What did I say? Who did I piss off? What institutions want me in jail? What did I do that angered them? Me. I'm taking absolute self-accountability for everything. I'm not blaming anything else, because if I blame everything else, I have no control. If I blame myself, then I can influence it. I have control over it. So 75% of people blame other people, or they blame other things. I lost my business because of COVID. No, you lost your business because of you. I lost my girl because her friends were. No, you lost your girl because of you. You lost your car because of you. And it's all your fault, because that's the only thing that gives you control and power. The other 10%, you said 75, that's 85, now it has to be much higher. Let's say the other 20%, which brings up to 95% of totally the populace, will look at a situation in which they lose, and they might self-analyze, and they might try and learn from the loss, and they'll try and find the feedback involved in the loss to make sure they don't lose again, which is obviously better than not analyzing at all.
At all, yeah.
And the top 5%, the absolute highest echelon, are people who are going to analyze every decision they've ever made, win or lose. I analyze my wins as well.
See where you went right.
See where I went right, see where I went wrong, see where it worked. You need to analyze your whole life. Your life needs to be feedback.
You know, I always found the one thing that was always amazing to me, and this happened to me even just the other day. I'll be driving one of my 59 Supercross, and it's raining, and it's dark, and it's cold. And I see people at a bus stop, and I'm at the traffic light. It's freezing, and it's raining, and it's nighttime, and you can't afford an Uber. If that won't motivate you, I don't know. Because the worst thing about the bus isn't the bus, it's the time you wait for the bus. Time is money. You're gonna stand there for 45 minutes in the freezing cold and waste your time to save a couple dollars on an Uber, and you don't feel panic to get rich? This is another thing that's amazing to me about motivation. I don't feel motivated. Neither do I sometimes. You're not gonna always feel like doing it. You have to do it anyway because it's your duty to do it, because you don't want to be a loser. That's the whole point. If you felt like doing it all the time, then there would be no magic to it. The magic is that you do it regardless of how you feel. What do you mean you need motivation? You don't need motivation. You have a duty to not be a loser anymore, because the hole in the sky is closing.
I think most normal people understand. If you were to ask them how's the economy, they'd say, well, it's impossible. I can't pay for my bills. I can't pay to eat. I can't afford a house. I can barely afford my mortgage. I'm never going to get rich this way. They understand all of this, but they're not panicking. And people are sitting here now going, oh yeah, the economy's bad, but maybe if we vote for this person, who are you going to vote for that's going to put money in your pocket actually come along and say, here's money? Nobody. Still got to pay your council tax, still a brokey, nobody cares. No one you vote for is going to change it. It's going to get worse, it's going to continue. And the boat is going to sink, and you're not panicking. That's why I kind of catch myself. And one of the things I try very hard not to do is become elitist. Because when you've come from the absolute bottom to the absolute top, and you've done it all off of your own back, and hard work and dedication and never missing a day, the only shortcut to life is to never miss a day. One, because of compounding interest, and two, because sometimes you get lucky. And you'll never miss a lucky day if you try every day. If you don't try every day, you might miss your lucky day. And that's what people don't understand. If you never miss a day and you never don't try and you're always on time, was I late today? No, on time. And you try and improve every aspect of your life, and you're a professional, and you try and make sure that you analyze your decisions, you give yourself feedback, you don't make mistakes, you're not lazy. If you try and you make it to the top, you end up elitist, because you look at the people down below and you're like, well, why didn't you try? I did.
I think men are happy when they feel better. I think we're naturally competitive. That's why we've always done what we've done. Why did Genghis Khan need Vienna? Bro, that's Austria. Look at Mac. Why did he need Vienna? It took him probably 3 months to even hear they were at Vienna. By the time he got the message, they probably already conquered it. Why did he need it? Because he won. Why do I need the stuff I have? Because other people can't have it. And I think that's where masculine happiness comes from. Because I think men are happy when they feel respected. And you're gonna respect yourself if you look around and you have things other people don't have. Why do I walk into the showroom and buy the 2 available cars that I don't want? Because it's one man's dream and now another man can't buy it. Why do you play sports?
To win.
To win. Why do you want to put a ball in a net more times than the other people? To show that you're better than them at putting a ball in a net. How insignificant an action. A ball in a net. Who cares? A much more significant action would be making a bunch of money, or being physically stronger, or a better fighter, or being smarter, a quicker talker, or being more well-known, more respected, more influential. That's far more important than putting a ball in a net. And you'll spend your time putting a ball in a net to prove you're better than other people. So don't sit and say that I'm a bad person for proving I'm better than everyone else by all the things I'm doing. That's masculine competition. If there's a game being played and some men realize it's a battle and some men don't realize there's a battle going on, how can they possibly win? So some of you men are waking up every day not realizing you're in a forever permanent competition with every single man around you. For everything. All of the time. And that doesn't ever cross your mind and you wonder why you permanently lose. Well, it crosses my mind and that's why I'm beating you. Women want the men who think this way. Women want the men who understand this. Who win. That's what women want. So you can call it arrogant. You can call it egotistical. I call it winning. I call it realism. I call it realistic. And the best things about having most of the things I have is that other people can't have them. That's the bottom line of it. It's the reason why billionaires buy a bigger yacht than the billionaire next to them. They do not need an extra 20 feet of deck space. They want the biggest yacht in the harbor. It's the reason why they buy one of one Picassos. It's the reason why when Bugatti launch a new car with 80 units, they're all sold same day. That's why. Because winners all think the same way. And anyone who sits and goes, well, you should be more humble. I hear that sometimes. And then I look at who said it. And whenever someone tells me their opinion, this is a habit I give everyone. Whenever somebody gives you their opinion on anything, listen to the opinion and then stop and look at who told it. Because you never want to adopt the thinking of somebody who you don't want to be. Because their thinking made them. So whatever they believe in their mind is why they are the person they are. So if somebody sits and says to you, you should be more humble. I sit and think, okay, this is how my brain works. He believes I should be more humble. That's how his mind operates. The closer my mind operates to his mind, the more likely I am to be like him. Who is he? And I'll look at the person who said that to me and say, no. Because most people who talk about humble, all they really want is to not be reminded of how they have failed. They don't want me to make it clear to them that they have failed. They have failed. I feel like normalcy has been changed from being a winner to being a loser. In the 60s, you could be a normal man who worked in a factory, an unskilled labor job, and with one wage, you could afford a house, you could afford a car, you could afford to raise a family, your children would not be taught garbage in school, your wife would respect you, you'd have a home-cooked meal.
Times were good.
Times were good. All the things I said about playing Uno earlier in Hyperbole are true. What matters most? Your wife loves you, you're respected as the breadwinner, your kids respect you, they listen to you, your house is clean, your house is safe, your car works, your life is good. So now being normal is just losing in a way which is so familiar to the people around you are losing that you don't realize you've lost it all. Because everyone's lost. So you're like, oh, I'm just normal. No, you've all lost. You've all lost. None of you are free. You're all lost. And that's even more scary. You can't even be normal anymore. To be a winner, you have to be exceptional. You could be a winner as a normal person only 50, 60 years ago. Now the normal people can't even win. So you need to be able to do amazing things and then be proud of yourself. Don't sit and think you're great for no reason. That is arrogance. I'd argue that the normal person who thinks they're so unique and great for no reason is more arrogant than me. The problem with most people in the world today is not that they do a normal thing, it's that they do a normal thing and they don't try to be the best at it. So you can be a barista and you can just make coffees, or you can be a barista that makes the fancy coffees and can turn over all the cups and do like the tricks and all the garbage. We have a man who became a billionaire from salt.
Yes.
From salt. You can all put salt on, he did it the best. Bam. So the first thing you need to do is get very good at making coffees. That's the first thing you need to do. Be able to do it in a fancy way. Then you need to solicit attention. When you can make coffees in a fancy way, you can hire a videographer. You can then begin to make fancy coffees in a fancy way, and you can make it look good with a finalized product, and you can get a nice video made that's well cut with some fancy music. You can begin to put them on Instagram and solicit people to watch your Instagram page. Now you have attention. How do you then turn that attention into money after you began to show your fancy coffees? Well, you could, let's say, put together a course or an academy or write a book on the magic of coffee or the secrets of coffee. And you would put a mystery on it. Don't say, I'll teach you how to make coffee. No, say the secrets of coffee. And you'd have a link in your Instagram page, and it would be $9, and it would tell people the secrets how to make coffee, for example. You'd start to sell that for $9. You'd make a couple hundred or a couple thousand, not too much, but you continue to make fancy coffees. People continue to go to your Instagram page and now sell the secrets of how to make coffee. Then, after people start knowing you as being a barista, you start to make these $9, you have $20,000, $30,000 in the bank. What you can do is launch your own coffee brand. You can go on Alibaba.com, you can find some coffee beans, you can put your face on it because your face is now a recognized brand. You can get your own coffee beans, you can begin to sell them on Instagram. Before you know it, you're making $10,000 or $15,000 a month. You can start to do tours. You can start to put posters on your Instagram or in your Instagram stories saying, I'm gonna do master classes on how to make coffee, 20 people only, $1,000 each at this premium barista specialty coffee shop in London. The coffee shop will allow you to do it for free because they want people to know, get the advertising from you and your brand. You'll charge $1,000 each. That's 20 grand for a day. They teach people how to pour milk in a cup. Boom. You've got a coffee brand. You go an online school. You're doing seminars. You put in a little bit of effort. Now you drive a Ferrari. Done. It is that easy to get rich in the world today if you actually try. Always try. Instead, he'll go to work every day, make the coffees, go home, off. Some people are so lazy that they will work every day instead of get rich. And they think because they're working every day that they're not lazy. Everything I just told you about that could work for an electrician. Same thing. Teach people how to wire up. Who gives it? You'll make some money if you try. So I think the best mental model as a man is to understand that you cannot be normal. You need to be exceptional. You need to do exceptional things. That ties into the exceptionally good and the exceptionally bad, like we talked earlier, which means you need to be hard on yourself so you can deal with the exceptionally bad. And if you start to do all these things, they all compound. Everything I've said across all these hours all tie into each other, and you end up in one result. You end up in one place, which is brutal competence, brutal masculine competence. There's nowhere else to be. Nothing will save you besides your own brutal competence. Or I believe that getting rich is one of the best things you can possibly do to help save you.
Winners win and losers lose. I want to synthesize this thought so that you can digest it in a very easy way. What do I mean by winners win and losers lose? I get asked this question all the time. I want to share it with you today. Winners are people that everything that they do, all the habits that they instill are the habits of a winner. A winner isn't a final product. A winner is a lifestyle. A winner is a concurrent set of actions that lead you to a final destination. Same way is for losers. Usually losers inhibit behaviors of losing people, who they hang out with, what they eat, what they listen to, what they consume on a regular basis, how they think about themselves, how they view the world. They view everything through the lens of a loser. That's why they are where they are today. So when people come to me and they're like, Luke, why is my life shit? All I have to do is look at your action. How are you operating, dude? Most of you guys are operating at a 2 out of 10 and you're expecting a 10 out of 10 life. It's impossible. You want uphill results with downhill habits. It's not gonna fucking work, dude. You gotta level up. And that means understanding that if you follow a list of successful ingredients, you're gonna achieve success. Dude, the blueprint's out here. I'm in fucking Singapore, hanging out with billionaires. You don't think they're gonna drop some nuggets of truth and information telling me, hey, this is how the world works. You gotta follow this ingredient list. This is what successful people do. Stay away from this bullshit. This is gonna make you a loser. The ingredient list is out there. You just gotta be paying attention. You don't have to reinvent the fucking wheel. There have been successful people before you. There will be successful people after you. The question is, will you become successful? Will you instill the habits of a winning person? Will you embody the beliefs of a winning individual? Will you cut out the bullshit that makes you a loser? Are you going to keep consuming and being like, oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong is you're wrong. Your life is wrong. Everything you do, when the moment you wake up, you self-sabotage. You're setting yourself up for failure. And then you're asking why you suck at life. You suck at life because everything that you do is sucking and draining you away from your fullest potential. Focus on leveling up, motherfucker. Focus on winning. Every single action, everything that you do, focus on winning. Focus on becoming a champion. And you know what the outcome will be? You will become exactly what you put in. You will become the outcome of your actions. You will become the outcome of your decisions. I'm a winner. And I'm not a winner by what I've achieved. I'm a winner by what I do today. Not what I did yesterday, not by what I do tomorrow, not how you perceive me, but how I perceive myself. Did I cheat myself today? Or did I win? Did I beat myself at this game of life? That's all that matters. I ain't competing with you. I ain't competing with him, with her. I'm competing with myself. Winners win, losers lose. There are two types of pains in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Now, pain is unavoidable in your human experience, but one pain, right, the pain of discipline weighs ounces, while the pain of regret weighs pounds. What does this mean? This means that in life, pain is unavoidable. It is undeniable, right? This idea that you can live life without consequences, that you can instill bad habits in your life, and that is inconsequential to the outcome of your future is a fallacy. The Matrix wants you to believe that You know, YOLO, you only live once. The question is, how do you live that one time? Do you live it with regret, or do you live it by instilling discipline and having the ability to control the source of the pain and then the outcome of what that pain wields? Now, a lot of you guys want to avoid pain because you don't understand that pain is elemental to your human experience. The pressure of life will crush you. Now, the question is, will it wield a diamond or not? And all of that has to do from the source by which that pain comes from. Now, if you instill discipline, it is painful, right? Not having to hang out with certain people, having to establish a routine, having to establish healthy lifestyles, having to establish healthy eating habits, having to cut out the bullshit in your life, saying, hey, no, I'm not going out tonight because I got things that I need to accomplish in order to live a life that is not full of regret. Now, on the other side, you have the pain of regret. This regret usually comes from a lifestyle that is massively hedonistic, a lifestyle that is massively promiscuous, that has no limitations, no boundaries, and instills zero discipline. Most people live this lifestyle because they think that they're never going to have to pay the piper, that they're never going to have to pay the bill for the decisions of their life, for the actions of their life. Now, we understand by Newton's law that every action has an equal and opposite reaction, that for everything that you input into the universe, you will receive an equal proportion in output. So the question is, what are you inputting? And what type of pain is going to come from that? Are you going to regret it? Or are you going to instill discipline in such a way that you can control the outcome of your life and your decisions? As I'm here in Phuket, Thailand, we have a couple villas and mansions here, and kind of reminiscing my life over like the past couple of years, I came to realize that by instilling discipline and suffering in that short-term period, right, those 2 hours, 3 hours of just gruesome intention every single day, have allowed me to live a life that I have no regrets. And it's not regrets because I'm an arrogant person. I'm like, I don't regret anything that I've done, right? It's not that. It's that the life that I have is a life that has no regrets, because there's nothing to regret, because everything that I've done has been intentional. Everything's been done with discipline and dedication. And you can do the same. So the question is, how do you want to live your life? Now, if I take you to an old retirement home, if I take you to a hospital, you will witness, it's very palpable. You can feel it in the air. It's very dense. The pain of regret is real. And unless you instill discipline in your life, unless you instill habits, unless you instill circles of influence, friends, and put yourself in a situation where there's discipline that allows you to live a life of fullness over the long period, that gives you the ability to have a lifespan longevity full of health, wealth, love, and happiness, you need to understand that you must be willing to suffer today to become something tomorrow, instead of having anything you want today and having to pay the bill tomorrow. And I promise you, that bill is very fucking expensive. It comes with interest and it's very fat.
The reason anyone is broke in the Western world today is because they are one of three things. They are either lazy, they are arrogant, or they are stupid. And if you're broke, you are one of those three things. I don't care what excuse you try and fucking give me. You're gonna have to choose which one you are. Because if you're none of those three things, it's impossible to remain poor in the modern world, in the West. There is so much money. I'm gonna rub it in for all the brokies quickly. There is so much fucking money in the world. I want you to, when you drive down a street, go to London, drive down a street. Every building's worth what? 20 million, 50 million, 100 million. If someone owns all this shit, right? That hotel's $1 billion hotel. That fucking restaurant's worth 15 million. You can take a taxi ride and drive past £1 trillion fucking pounds. Who owns all that shit? People own all of this, right? There's so much money in the world. During COVID, when everyone was complaining that they went broke, I made so much fucking money. You would not believe the amount of money I made. The amount of money that's traveling around and floating around the planet is ridiculous. We're talking about inflation being out of control. It's because they're printing trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. It has to go somewhere. Now, they try their very best to keep it amongst the elites, and they do that. But if you're anywhere near the elite, you get money, right? If there's a rainstorm, all you have to do is walk outside and you get wet. The difference between me and everyone else is I know where the door is to walk outside. Everyone else is just fucking floundering around the room, looking on the floor for pennies, like a jackass, right? There's so much money. It's so easy to make money in the world today. It truly is. And the reason if you're poor and you're remaining poor is because you're either lazy, arrogant, or stupid. So we'll talk about those three things. The first thing is lazy, which I've already discussed. I believe 99.9% of the people I've interacted with in my life are lazy. And when I say lazy, I mean it in the genuine term of the word. They're lazy. They think that they come up with bullshit like work-life balance and, well, there's no point working if you don't enjoy yourself and all this other fucking shit. and they remain lazy. And the problem is that the world we live in is player versus player. If you go play Call of Duty, right? It's PvP. You want to live, you got to kill that guy.
Yep.
He's some fucking 14-year-old in Singapore. He loses one more game. Don't care. Sniped. Boom. See ya. Had a nice life. Tangent. You're gone. That's how it works. Player versus player.
This is the most knowledge I've ever heard being dropped on this podcast, man. It's fucking nuts. I'm gonna walk away from this fucking thing, and we sat there in Uber on the way home.
Got sniped. Man.
Not
That's
good.
reality.
Tangent in Singapore is done. So, but it's player versus player, right?
Yeah.
Now, I would like to believe in a world where you don't have to wake up and think about the money. Where you don't have to wake up and think about the bag. You don't have to wake up and think, how do I get paid? Where instead you could wake up and think, I want to enjoy my time. I want to spend time with my family, etc., etc. But the problem is it's player versus player. There are people like me. There are sharks in the ocean. If you want to stay a fish, you're going to fucking lose. There are people like me who wake up and think, fuck it, I want more. Don't give a shit. I already have everything I could ever think of. I already have enough money to buy everything I could ever dream of. I can't even think of anything on the planet I want. Don't care. I want more so I can take it from others. There are people like me that exist, and you have to compete against people like me. It's player versus player. So when I say lazy, my entire life is work. And when I say that, people think that's depressing. No, it's not. It's not depressing. I love it. Every single thing I do is work. When I go to the gym, it's so I'm in fantastic shape, so I can call everyone a brokey, and they don't want to come up to me on the street because I know I'll fuck them up. Work. When I come here and do a podcast and have a nice conversation with you gentlemen, work. I'm making money in between, work. When I'm it's work. So that when me and her go to the club, she behaves herself with all the other girlfriends around because she knows Big D. You understand? It's all work. Life is work. Existence is work. If I'm awake, I'm working. Every single thing I do is conscious. It's all done on purpose. Now, we're going to finish this podcast. I don't know what you guys are going to do afterwards. But you could certainly film 10 podcasts in a row if you wanted to, but you won't because you're fucking lazy. That is the truth. You can be the biggest podcast in the world. You refuse because you want to.
We're on that way.
No,
We're on that way.
Only work.
No.
There's nothing else. You have to outcompete everybody.
It's smart work.
No.
That's the
Oh,
word.
no. We're going to get on to smart work in a second, my friend. Now, smart work.
10 podcasts in a row is a waste
doable.
of fucking time. No, it's not even not doable.
Not
It's
doable.
just not. Just putting out 10 fucking podcasts is stupid.
You think
Because we
I
have to-
won't film 10
we have to get a
podcasts in a
guess.
fucking row?
That's an L.
Watch me.
If you film 10, that's an L for you. Because
No, it's not.
Because how are you going
can-
to talk about
it doesn't
recent?
matter. You can delay them. It doesn't matter.
But the content you talk about won't be relevant in 10 weeks' time when
But
you
you
put
can
it
talk
out.
about evergreen subjects, about the fact that the Matrix
Nobody
is here
gives
to
a
enslave
shit
us
about
all.
that. Nobody,
Yes,
no,
bro.
not about that. But no one can. What I'm saying is they want to hear about the latest and the greatest.
I understand.
So we have to talk about that.
My point, the point I'm trying to make is smart work or intelligent work is something that most people use to hide and disguise their laziness. And I'll tell you why. Because if you're not a lazy individual, the first thing you do is you dedicate your entire life to work. Like I just said, every bitch I fuck is work. Every gym session I go to is work. Every car I drive is work. I'll film it. I'll use it, whatever it is. Every single thing I do inside of my existence is work. Once I've used all of my human time, every single waking second of every single day, and I now have a pile of work I can no longer complete, then I look to streamline. And then I go, okay, I've been awake for 17 hours and my work isn't finished. I need to find a more efficient way to get my work done. That's when you start being smart and efficient. But until all of your time is used, smart and efficient is a disguise for laziness. It's bollocks, right? Fuck that off. You don't need to be smart or efficient. You need to fucking work. I have people inside of Hustles University. You just said I conquered TikTok, right? There's a guy inside of Hustles University who's 16 and he's making 45,000 pounds a month. Do you know why? Because he takes my old interviews, he makes TikToks, and he puts them on TikTok. He does 300 TikToks a day. He just fucking works. Doesn't think, doesn't try and be smart, doesn't try and be efficient, doesn't try and change the world. He sits his ass there on his phone and fucking works. And now he's making 45 grand a month.
That's why I'm starting my Tate TikTok tonight, and I'm 100%. And I've got my name. I've got my
Chip,
name
you ain't
ready.
even made a fella's TikTok
100%,
yet.
100%.
The fuck are you doing right now?
I'm going with Pastor Tate.
Don't make him the fucking money. Make us the fucking money.
No, listen, my affiliate link is going in my bio. Guys, make sure, Pastor Tate, that's me right now, tonight.
So,
But this is the point. So most people are lazy. And when I say this, I understand work-life balance. I understand some people want to rest, blah, blah. I get that shit. But there are people like me who are born to work. We're born to conquer. And you have to compete against us and you're going to lose. You're going to lose. Because we have networks. We have people who work for me. I have 1,000 people who work for me. And all I do is work. And all they do is work. All we do is fucking work. How are you going to beat me on TikTok? You can't beat me. I'm here and I've conquered the fucking platform. It's mine. That's because I'm a workhorse. So most people are lazy. So if you're going to sit there and you're going to look at me and you're looking at my 27 supercars and go, I'd really like that. If you'd really like that, you need to understand that every waking second you need to be working. And I'm going to handle every excuse because I want to answer this question compendiously.
Fantastic vocabulary right there.
Concisely. Because most people who come to me and say, oh, I'd love to be rich. No, you wouldn't. Because if you'd love to be rich, you'd be working. Now people will say, well, I don't know what to work on. That's another lie. And the reason that's a lie is because there's always more work to do. Now, how much you care about something is directly correlated to how much work you find to do. Mm-hmm. If you truly love a coin, you can polish it forever, right? You can find work to do. If you sit there and go, oh, my work's done, then you haven't tried to find work. You can always find work. I don't give a shit if you're a carpenter. I'm a carpenter and I finished my work. And go drop leaflets about carpentry. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to stay home. Then you don't want to be rich. There you go. There's your fucking answer. So you can find work to do in any sphere. You're saying we can't do 10 podcasts in a row. Perhaps you're right. Let's assume you're right. Let's assume you can only do one podcast.
Yeah.
I guarantee if I was in charge, you guys would be fucked. If I was in charge of this business, let's say I was in charge of the Fellas podcast, you would not be going home till at least 9 p.m. and I would find shit
no,
for you to
but,
fucking do.
Okay, but Andrew,
you would be doing something.
In fairness,
there would be work to do.
In fairness, when we finish this podcast, the end of the work is not done. We'll go home and then we'll work on our own channels.
Our own stuff.
So when I'm done here, Andrew, when I go...
See you at the top.
No, 164, my friend.
165th
I'll see you
floor.
there.
And I'm not talking about you guys personally in a disrespectful way. I'm just trying to highlight the fact that there's always more work to do. There's no such thing as finished.
I want to be disrespected today. I want you to tell me.
That's like some cunt
Andrew, no, seriously.
No one's degrading.
I'll tell you.
Compared to the general public, they will look at me and go, Chip's rich. But then I look at you, Andrew, and I go, that's rich. Yeah, and I want you to tell me why I'm not where you're at. That's what I need.
Good.
I want to hear that.
And I'm telling you.
I want to be on that fucking yacht.
All right, I'll tell you. Yeah, good.
I want to be there.
Good.
So tell me everything.
Good. Right.
I need to know.
Good. And this is the thing. So you have to find more work to do. Now, if you truly can't find more work to do, I don't believe that's a thing. I believe that's just an excuse for laziness, right? You can always find some more work to do. You guys could go back to a podcast you made a year ago, and you could go and you could make a highlight show of all the times that you said, I don't know, fuck or drink or whatever. And you could make a highlight video. You can make a 10-second video of all the times you said it. You can put some music on it. Boom, boom, TikTok. You can always find work to do. There's no such thing as no work.
That's your next
job. No such thing as no work. No such thing. So most people are lazy, right? The second thing that people suffer from is arrogance. And the reason people are arrogant is because every single individual, especially men, we're born with we have an ego, right? And I think the ego is a very important thing. If you read any of the modern bullshit that is pumped out by the Matrix, they say, you must get rid of your ego, you must remove your ego. But I disagree with that absolutely. That's the Matrix trying to program us all to be slaves. If someone has an ego, they are full of pride. And if you're full of pride, you do a good job. If you are proud of yourself, if you're proud of your body, you're gonna have a good body. If you're proud of your work, you're gonna do good work. If you're proud of the things you say, you're going to make sure the things you say are intellectual and well thought through, right? So they try and tell you to have no ego, to remove your pride so that you'll accept the programming from the Matrix. They want to make sure that you're an empty vessel. They can just insert their programming. So you need to have an ego. And the ego can either be your best friend or your enemy. An ego you work hard to justify is a superpower. An ego that you have without justification is here to hinder you. So I'll give you an example of me, right? I've always had an ego. But I realized that I was full of shit having an ego if I wasn't actually a capable fighter who was rich as fuck with a dangerous world-class network. I realized that having an ego without those things was just bollocks. So I had 87 professional fights and I made $100 million. And I built the war room and got one of the most powerful networks on the planet. And now I get to have my ego justified and I get to sit here on podcasts and talk with confidence because I've justified my ego. I knew what I wanted to be and I justified it, right? If you have an ego and go, well, I don't have those things, but I don't need those things, then you're fucked. Right? So most people are arrogant. I will sit here and tell the world on this podcast that I have a school called Hustlers University that teaches people how to make money online with 18 modern wealth creation methods. It's $49 a month. And there are people who still won't join. Oh, he's full of shit. I have a jet and a boat. 27 supercars.
Not you.
I know people who
Shell
have
company.
Shell company.
15 mansions, etc. And they're going to sit there and listen to all of the things we've said and go, maybe he's lying. Because they are arrogant idiots. They're idiots, right? If Mike Tyson teaches you comes and says, I'm going to show you how to throw a punch. Do you sit there and go, well, you know what, Mike? It's not bad, but I wouldn't do it that way. Or would you sit and go, okay, Mike Tyson, right? So I've always been a very good student. Everything I've learned from people. Even when I was a kickboxing world champion, I became world champion because I just blindly obeyed. It wasn't a matter of, I think this. It was just turn up at the gym, do this. My coach, who was Bosnian Special Forces, he fought in the Yugoslav conflict, would say, you're doing this today. You ain't going home until I've seen 10,000 push-ups. 7 hours later, I did 10,000 push-ups. That was the game. That was it. I just obeyed, right? So most people are so arrogant, even if someone like me wastes their time trying to tell them how to escape slavery, they're too arrogant to even fucking listen. They're gonna sit there and go, well, $49, maybe it's a scam. Oh, maybe I scam you out of a Nando's. Oh no, boo fucking who? And if you wanna, because I want to extrapolate our conversation, I wanna tie back to things I said previously. We talked about how education exists in a vacuum. My education doesn't exist in a vacuum. Hustle University is in competition with every single other purchase on the planet. So I currently have 64,000 students. 64,000 people are inside of Hustle University paying $49 a month every single month. Don't be impressed I got 64,000 people. Be impressed I retain 64,000 people. Those people are making more than they spend. So you have to understand this. My educational system, it doesn't exist in the same way that traditional educational system does. You can spend that $49 on anything you want. I'm in competition with Nando's. I'm in competition with video games. I'm in competition with fucking food, fucking Snickers, the gym, porn, whatever you want to spend your money on. And 64,000 people have decided that the best possible value they can find for their $49 is inside of my school. That shows my school works.
My question to you is, you mentioned that there were, 18 ways of like modern...
18 modern wealth creation methods.
Are any of those ways methods that you've personally used?
Every single one of them are methods that I currently use.
That you currently use?
Correct. So they are taught by it's taught by myself and other war room professors.
Yeah.
And they're all ways that I currently use. Because there's some people who already go, oh, I'll buy Bitcoin, that'll make me rich. No. What's it going to do? Double? Oh, your 1,000 pounds is 2,000 pounds. Congratulations, jackass. That ain't going to make you rich, right? So we teach 18 modern wealth creation methods. And TikTok's an example, right? TikTok is completely Hustles University students making millions and millions of pounds every single fucking month. All they needed is a phone. Everyone has a phone and time. Do you have a phone and some time? Yes. Are you a lazy jackass? No. Okay, then you can be rich. You can have a Ferrari. What the fuck are you waiting for? And when I say arrogant, because there are people who are going to listen to this podcast, listen to everything I've said and go, yeah, that makes sense, but might be a scam, and not join. So most of you are either lazy or arrogant. Some people are so arrogant you couldn't help them if you fucking tried. And the last is stupid. And this is the smallest category, right? I don't think you need to be smart to make money. I really don't think you need to be that intelligent to make money. I think less than 5% of the population is too stupid to make money. Do you know how TikTok works? Are you too stupid to upload a TikTok video? No, then you can make money. Are you too stupid to upload a YouTube video? No, then you make money. Are you too stupid to, even if you can't do it yourself, to go on Fiverr and get someone to edit a video that you can put on your channel? Like no one's too stupid to make money. They're just too lazy and too arrogant. So that is the plague. So if you're working your 9 to 5, you need to look in the mirror. I'll take my sunglasses. You need to look in the mirror. Look yourself in the eyes. Look deep in your own eyes and work out which one you truly are. Am I fucking stupid? Well, I don't think I'm stupid. No, I'm not stupid because everything Andrew said made sense. Okay, I'm not stupid. Am I lazy? I guess a little bit. Am I arrogant? Work out which one it is and fucking fix it. Blink and cure your brain. And once you're no longer lazy or arrogant, you just have to find someone to learn from, right? You have to go, okay, I'm not lazy, I'm not arrogant. I want someone who's really willing to teach me. A lot of people on the internet were full of shit. I ain't full of shit. Congratulations.
At 24 years old, I've experienced more in life than most people will in their entire lifetimes. From all the materialistic shit like waking up and deciding, am I gonna drive my Lamborghini or my GT3 on the way to tennis? Or am I feeling a little tired, so I'm just gonna chill out in the back of my Rolls Royce or my Maybach while I get driven? All the way from that to achieving childhood dreams like buying my mom a $4 million house in cash, to giving back and doing my part with some of my philanthropic projects, like the over half a dozen schools I built in Nepal for thousands of kids, or the new school that I'm currently building in South Africa. I have honestly lived such an eclectic life at this point. And the reason that I've been able to live this life since the age of 17, it's because I focused on one thing and one thing only when I was younger, which was growing my cash flow business. And what I mean by that is a business that puts cash in your pocket consistently every single month. And in this video, I'm gonna give you my personal blueprint to start a cash flow business from zero. And this is my exact thought process on how I would personally start from scratch again and go from $0 to $10,000 a month this year. Now, this presentation is going to be divided into 3 sections. The first section is the 3 factors that absolutely must be in place for you to make money, no matter what your strategy or business model is. Then we'll get into the fundamentals of starting a cash flow business. And then finally, I'm going to show you how to start your own cash flow business in practice in 3 simple steps. So if you're someone who has been wanting to start an online business for a while, put your ideas into practice, and you just simply don't know what to do to get started, or maybe you kind of know what to do, but you're just not sure how to do it. You know you're at point A and you know you want to get to point B, you just don't know how to bridge that gap. That is exactly what this video is going to help you solve. And the goal is that by the end of this video, you're going to have a game plan from now on. You're always going to know where you're at, where you need to go, and you'll have a game plan, or to be honest, maybe even more than that, as to how to get there. So with no further ado, let's get started. So what are the 3 factors that absolutely must be in place in order for you to make money? The first is something to sell. I mean, you can't expect to make money if you don't have something to sell. Whatever you have, whether that's a product or a service, if it's your time or it's even old stuff that you have laying in your house, you have to have something that you can trade in exchange of money. Then you need someone to sell it to. Because once you have something you can sell, you have to actually find people who are interested in what you sell. So that way they can buy from you. I mean, this is pretty much how the economy works. And then finally, you need a game plan. And that is a process on how you're going to find these people and deliver on the thing that you're selling to them. And this brings us onto the conversation of product versus service. So first, you need to define what you're selling. And if you really think about everything you could sell and you really break things down to a fundamental level, you're going to realize that you can really only categorize what you're going to sell into 2 parts. You're either selling a product or you're selling a service. It doesn't matter what you're selling, it can be categorized into one of those 2. If you're selling food, well, that's a product. If you're selling furniture, that's a product. If you're selling old stuff in your house you don't use anymore, that's still a product. On the other hand, if you're cleaning cars, that's a service. If you're selling haircuts, that's a service. If you're selling social media management, that's a service. If you have a job, then all you're doing is selling your time to your employer, and that's fundamentally a service. Whenever you're selling time, that's a service. And in order to start not only a cash flow business, but any type of business, you need to decide what you are going to sell. Is it a product or is it a service? And the obvious question to ask yourself is, well, which one is better? And that is a very important question that 90% of people that start a business don't ask themselves. They don't spend any time thinking about this. And asking this question and really coming to a good answer can save you years of struggle and save you from burning tens of thousands of dollars in the process. The thing that you need to consider here is what I like to call career timing. You really need to understand there are stages in your career, and you have to think about where you are on the career spectrum. If you're currently at $1,000 a month and you try to pick a $10 million business, your odds of succeeding are slim to none, because that business is way too sophisticated for your current level of experience. In this case, you need something that's simple and allows you to succeed without too much complexity. On the other hand, if you're at the $10 million level and you try to start a $100,000 a year business, the business in of itself will most likely succeed because you have more than enough experience and capital needed to get it to succeed. However, it will most likely never get to the scale that you want it to, because that is a business that is below your experience level. And in this case, you need something that has a higher barrier to entry in order to prevent yourself having a lot of competition, and something that allows you to scale to multiple 8 and 9 figures. And those nuances are all about career timing. Most people really don't understand this, but the business that you start to get to $100 million is not the same business that you need to get to $10 million. In the same way, the $10 million a year business will probably be a different business to the one that you make your first million, and that will be a different business to how you make your first $100,000. So ask yourself, which one is the business that you should start right now? And I know that 99% of people watching this are beginners. So your first objective should simply be to start a $100,000 business. That is roughly $10,000 a month. Now, going back to our original question of what we want to answer here. In your specific case, should you pick a product-based business or should you pick a service-based business? And now I'm going to give you an answer that you're probably going to find controversial, but it's actually not. It's simply the reality. And that is, in 99% of cases, a beginner should not start a product-based business, because pretty much all of the product-based businesses are a better fit to get to $1 million or $10 million a year career stage. And quite frankly, you are not there yet. And there's two reasons. To start a product-based business, you need a product in the first place. In order to have a product, you need to develop it. And the process of developing a product that is high quality and that people actually want is extremely time consuming and expensive. And I say that from experience. I have multiple product-based businesses. Let's use the most simple of them all, my eyewear business, Gadzhi. Before I made any money with this brand, when I first started developing eyewear 4 years ago, I invested tens of thousands of dollars in order for the initial stock, as well as months and months of product development. All of that without having a clue whether people would want to buy it or not. And at that point, I already had a decent following. I already had hundreds of thousands of people following me, which makes selling the product 10 times easier. Now, to this day, I invest hundreds of thousands of dollars every time we restock. And in fact, I'm flying to Madrid tomorrow to see my new business partner who just bought into Gadzhi. And we just changed manufacturers, rebranded Gadzhi slightly, gave it a facelift. And we both put over $1 million into new stock for the brand. You know, it's funny, everyone talks about, oh, if I was a millionaire, and bear in mind, $1 million in cash. I have ventures like Gadzhi. Well, I guess I've been running it for multiple years, but now that we're really scaling it and taking it bigger, I'm wiring $1 million. People work their entire lives just to have $1 million in cash. I'm wiring $1 million just to get the rebrand and our new product line off the ground. You need to understand how scary that is for most people. And if you don't have a lot of cash flow coming in from other businesses, you want to avoid this at all costs, because this puts yourself in a situation where you invest money up front in order to see returns 2 months, 5 months, 6 months, a year later. Even worse, having to invest from your own pocket every month to keep the business running in case things don't go exactly according to plan. And a very important business lesson for you here. Things very rarely go to plan. Once again, another example where I invested almost $1 million for the initial stock to get that company off the ground. And we had a massive issue where we were delayed by multiple months. And I'm good because I have other businesses that match my current career timing. But imagine for the average person that has no money coming in and they're just waiting and waiting and waiting for this thing to launch, because there's always issues when it comes to physical product businesses. And listen, I started my first business 8 years ago, and my business partners have a decade plus of experience, sometimes even multiple decades of experience, and we all still struggle with this stuff to this day. That's the reality of having a product-based business. And I know that from the outside, it looks like a glamorous, sexy business to run, but when you look at the back end of these businesses, it's ugly. Now, you know something that's not sexy at all, but it has very smooth operations and it's way easier to run? A service-based business. You see, as a beginner, you want to find something that allows you to make mistakes and be wrong for months on end without getting you bankrupt in the process. Something that doesn't cost you money to do. Because as a beginner, you don't have an abundance of cash to burn through. Something that allows you to start making money right away without having to go through the process of product development. And that's exactly what a service-based business allows you to do. Because with a service-based business, you are essentially just selling your presence. So if everything goes wrong, you just lose a bit of time, which you have an abundance of when you're first getting started out. On the other hand, you didn't lose any money, which you have a lack of, you don't have much of when you're first getting started. And most importantly, you don't need to spend months and months developing a product. You can start selling your time and your services right away, doing things that you already know how to do. And in the second part of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to figure out what is the most profitable service for you to sell and how to find a blue ocean market to sell it to, so that way you don't ever have to worry about competition. But before we get into that, the point you need to understand here is this. If you're at a level where your objective is to start a $100,000 a year business, selling services is the superior way to go. And the reason for that is because of a business principle called cash flow versus enterprise value. Here's the thing. Pretty much all of the product-based businesses you see out there are built for something called enterprise value. That is a business that allows you to invest a lot of money into it, generate a return on that investment, and then reinvest that money back into the business. And this cycle fuels its growth, and that creates something known as enterprise value. Because what are investors looking to do? They are looking to invest the money that they have sitting around. And if you have a vehicle, if you have a business that allows them to invest as much money as possible while still being productive with that cash injection, that vehicle has a higher enterprise value. Because later down the line, they'll be able to sell this business for many multiples on what they initially invested. And this is what a product business allows you to do. With Gadzhi, for example, whenever we restock and we make $250,000, do you know where all that money goes? It goes straight back into reordering more stock. I never put a single dime of revenue in my pocket, and that's because the business is built for enterprise value. It's not there to pay me dividends. Now, the problem is you need to have the money in the first place to bankroll an operation like that. And where does that money come from? That money has come from my cash flow businesses. A cash flow business is the exact opposite of this. Its sole purpose is to generate free cash flow for you. So that way you can use that money to reinvest into other ventures, and a part of it to pay for your lifestyle. Virtually none of that money gets reinvested into the business. It is a cash cow. You don't need to. It's a business that doesn't require much cash to run because they are service-based. And when you choose the right service, it allows you to get paid 4 or even 5 figures per month per client. By the way, I remember the first time a client paid me 5 figures a month. This was all the way back in 2018. It was a company called Oura Ring. And I remember I was charging in pounds, but I charged just enough that when you converted it to US dollars, it came out to 5 figures a month. And when you get one of those clients for the first time, it's a crazy experience. And when you do this, this is how you make over $100,000 a month profit. And that's a very big difference here because we are talking about profit. That is cash in your pocket after all expenses are paid. And the difference between a cash flow business and an enterprise value driven business is that with the enterprise business, when you make $100,000 with that kind of business, after all the expenses, you reinvest back into the business and you're left with barely anything. $5,000 to $10,000 maximum in a good scenario. And that is why there are so many successful entrepreneurs out there with multi-million-dollar businesses that can barely afford to buy a house, let alone live the lifestyle that I live. On the other hand, with a service-based business, when I make $100,000, do you know how much of that I actually keep? It's $80,000, $85,000, sometimes even $90,000. And at the end of the day, when the business owners that run an enterprise value-driven business see how much money that we are taking home personally, knowing that most of the time they're making 2, 3, 5, even 10 times the amount of revenue that we do, and still taking home only a little fraction of what we take. All they wish is to have a business like ours because they end up being what I like to call revenue hostages. They see those $100,000 in revenue, and just as quick as it comes in and just as quick as it hits their bank account, it flows out. They never get to keep the money. And by the way, that has a deep psychological effect on you, knowing that you're moving hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to only keep a few grand at the end of it. And all of that stems from the fact that they focus on revenue, which is a vanity metric, instead of focusing on profit. Now, in the business game, the ones that win are not the ones that make the most, but the ones that keep the most at the end of it. And you have to be able to see through this. You know, there's a lot of business influencers out there that say they're worth X amount and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, and my company's worth blah, 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 this and that. Listen, I'm sorry to tell you, but valuation doesn't pay your bills. And valuation is very murky. You know, without getting into specifics, there was a very well-known business that was trying to bring me in as an equal partner. And one of the business owners had received an offer for his company for $750 million 18 months ago. And him and his investors laughed them out the room. 18 months later, he accepted an offer for $250 million. $500 million vanished just like that. So he doesn't get to say, oh yeah, you know, my company's worth $750 million anymore. They thought they were going for the big B. They thought they had $1 billion company on their hands. But the market changes. You know what no one can take away from you? The cash and the profit you make every single month. That's real. That's tangible. Those are not assumptions about the market. And bear in mind, when I tell you guys all this stuff, this is coming from someone that plays both sides of those markets. Listen, as I mentioned, valuation is not going to buy your mom a house. Do you want to be the guy who has convinced himself into thinking he's worth $200 million, but he can't even buy his mom a half-decent house? Or do you want to be the guy that's worth a fraction of that, but can buy his mom a house, can buy whatever supercars he wants without having to ask his investors or his business partners, all this shit? Just remember, when you're first starting out, I'm not talking later down the line. Later down the line, go for these bigger businesses, go for these bigger endeavors. Everything I'm telling you right here is what I would do if I was trying to make my first $100,000 again. What I would do if I was trying to make my first $500,000, first $1 million is a cash flow, low risk business. Look at me. Later down the line, the businesses that you did to make your first 100,000 or your first few 100,000 or your first million isn't necessarily the businesses that you're going to do to try to reach $1 billion. So as I said, when you're first starting out, your main focus should be one thing and one thing only: to maximize your cash reserves. And here is the rule to win in this game. You take the free cash flow that your business generates every single month and you put 70% of that into investments. And once you have a solid investment portfolio, that's when you can go into some of these riskier businesses that optimize for enterprise value and equity and then sell them for 8 figures or even 9 figures in the future. And then the remaining 30% of whatever you make, spend it however you want, guilt-free. If that's buying a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, I've done all of it, renting a yacht by the coast of Italy to hang out with your friends, getting a yacht to watch Monaco F1, or simply flying with your girlfriend to Paris in first class, whatever it is, spend that 30% however you want. Because the reason we get into this world in the first place is to be able to afford experiences like that. And you want to enjoy the entire process. You don't want to only enjoy it when you're old and when you've made it. And that is why we spend that 30% of everything we make guilt-free. You deserve it. And that is my guide to not only business, but living an epic life where you make the most of the money and you enjoy life to the fullest. And that is how you become what I like to call a cash flow master. Someone who makes a ton of money, uses that money wisely, and gets paid to enjoy life on their own terms. And I'm sure that we can both agree that there's very few people who can speak to you in this manner who know how to live life, not only crush it in business, but also live a good life in the same way that I do. Now, let's get into the second part of this presentation, because you now already know that the best business to start as a beginner and to get to your first $100,000 is a cash flow business. Now, there aren't that many businesses out there that will allow you to generate that sort of free cash flow. So what we have to do right now is to jump into the fundamentals of a cash flow business. So that way you get to understand what you need to do to start one yourself. Now, going back to our 3 factors that absolutely must be in place for you to make money, we've just covered the first one, which is something to sell. And we've already come to the conclusion that services are the superior thing to sell. Now, what type of services are we talking about here? And most importantly, who are we going to sell it to? Those are the 2 questions that we're going to answer in this section. Now, the best cash flow businesses are those that have a high unitary value. And what I mean by that is the value each client pays you on a monthly basis. The higher the value is, the easier it is to scale your business and to run its operations, because the less clients you need to get to $100,000. So it is all about finding those services that provide you with the highest unitary value. Now, how do you go about finding those services? Well, here's how you do it. Whenever you're selling services, the closer that service is to the point of sale, the higher its unitary value. Now, what is the point of sale, you might be asking? You see, there are multiple steps in a customer journey that takes place before a sale happens. Before someone purchases, they have to have the desire to purchase. Before someone has the desire to purchase, they must first be interested in the solution that you sell. And before being interested in your solution, they have to be aware of such solutions in the first place. So, awareness, interest, desire, sale. And that is the complete customer journey that every single one of your customers goes through before buying from you. And when I say point of sale, what I'm referring to is that last step of the customer journey. And depending on the service that you provide, it may sit on different stages of the customer journey. Take, for example, branding, whether that be redesigning a brand or simply advertising that brand on outdoors and radio commercials. That service sits on the first level of the customer journey, the awareness stage. And as a result, it doesn't have a high unitary value. Now, if you take a service like conversion rate optimization, which is basically redesigning elements of a product page so that way it sells more, that is a service that sits on the last stage of the customer journey, which is that point of sale that I talked about. And it sits there because with that service, it is very clear that you're making your client more money. And as a result, you can justify charging more for that service, meaning it has a higher unitary value. And a few examples of services that sit at that last stage of the customer journey are conversion rate optimization, paid advertising, email marketing, sales management, SMS marketing, merchant account optimization, influencer marketing, UGC, and many others. And those are the very basic examples of what are always top of mind. Now, the obvious question is, which one is the best for you to pick? And the answer is, it really depends. On what? Well, it depends on who you're selling to, or in business terms, in what niche that you're operating in. So instead of me giving you a one-size-fits-all solution, I thought I would walk you through the process of figuring out what the perfect service is to provide for your niche. And in order to do that, we first need to select your niche, or in simple terms, we need to figure out who it is that you're selling to. And in case you're wondering, well, I don't know how to provide any of these services, don't worry about that. Because in the third part of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can get those services delivered for you by someone else without ever having to pay anything out of pocket. Now today, we are really living through a big shift in the way that money is created. If you really look at all of the young millionaires that you see out there, well, where does their money come from? And the answer is always the same, the internet. It's simple. It's quite simple. 5 to 10 years ago, all the big money was made in offline businesses. But after 2020, the online adoption for all sorts of businesses was accelerated by at least one entire decade in just a few short years. Meaning there was a huge influx of money coming into online business. And when you're selecting your niche, that is who you're selling your services to, you want to take that into consideration, because the most important factor you want your target customer to have is an abundance of money. A lot of people fail with online business simply because of the fact that they target businesses that do not have an abundance of money. And it's very hard to make money if your own clients don't have money to start with. Now, if your clients have an abundance of money, it is way, way easier for you to command higher prices and increase the unitary value of your services. And the best businesses to target today, which have an abundance of money, are online businesses. Now, there's dozens of different types of online businesses. So how do you know which ones to target? Well, it's actually very simple. Remember the career stages chart that I walked you through earlier? Well, the easiest way for you to find businesses to work with is to target the ones that are one stage above you. So if you're starting a $100,000 business, you simply target the $1 million businesses because they are going to have more than enough cash to afford your services and provide you with a high unitary value, while at the same time not being so far away from your current stage that it becomes unrealistic for you to work with them. So all you need to do is simply search for online businesses doing from $1 million to $5 million a year and focus on them. And then you just nail down the industry that you want to service. That could be direct-to-consumer brands, dropshipping stores, content creators, coaches, consultants, education companies, agencies, whatever it is. Just choose the one that you identify with the most. And now I'm going to show you how to figure out what the best service is to provide them with, so that way you can start your own service-based cash flow business. Now here is the triple layer method that will allow you to find blue ocean markets that are completely untapped and have a lot of profit potential. So let's say you decided to work with content creators. Think YouTubers that create videos on one specific topic. It can be productivity, masculinity, fitness, whatever it is. Then, in order to find blue ocean markets within that niche, we need to evaluate that niche using the triple layer structure. In any business, there are 3 layers of variables that you can have. They are the micro environment, the market environment, and the macro environment. Now, the micro environment, this is like your immediate circle. It includes things that are close to the business, like customers, suppliers, competitors, and employees. It's like the people that you interact with every day at school or in your neighborhood. Now, for a business, it's about understanding who they're selling to, who they're buying from, and who they are competing against, and who's working for them. Then we have the market environment. Think of this as the bigger group that your business operates under. This is like your school or your town. It's all the people and businesses that your business might interact with or compete with in a broader sense. And understanding the market environment means knowing what people want, how much they're willing to pay, and what other options that they have. And then we have the macro environment. Now this is like the wider world outside of your immediate surroundings. It includes things like government regulations, economic conditions, technology, and cultural trends. It's like all of the big stuff that's happening in the country or even globally that can affect your business everywhere. For example, changes in laws or a recession can impact how a business operates, even if it's not directly related to what the business does. And when you evaluate the different pain points within each one of those 3 layers, you're going to find services that you'd never even think about. And just with this exercise alone, you're going to be able to find anywhere from 10 to 20 different blue ocean ideas for your target market. So for our content creation example, the micro environment would be their employees, so video editors and translators. Just with this, you can already think about quite a few different services. You could help them transcript their content to other languages. You could help them dub their content to other languages. You have the revenue reps, and those are the YouTube reps responsible for the AdSense revenue generated on their channel. That's something that people hardly ever even think about, and that's where you can find those blue ocean markets. For example, you could help them create content that will generate a higher RPM, and that means revenue per mil, thus increasing their AdSense revenue. And with a few simple tweaks on the packaging of their video, you can double their channel's RPM, essentially doubling how much money that they get paid from YouTube in a month. And most importantly, this will be one of those services that is exactly at the point of sale. And as a result, it'll yield you a high unitary value. And again, I don't personally know anyone offering a service like this. Now, another part of their micro environment is their sponsors. Here, you could take care of getting sponsors for all of their videos and negotiating the best deals with their sponsors. Another one of those services at the point of sale. Now, whenever any content creator creates a new video, they go through a video review process, and that usually requires a lot of back and forth with the content creator and their editors. You know, change this, now change that, oh, I don't like how this turned out, and let's change this again. And the more review that they go through, the longer it takes to create a video. So here, you could help them to implement an effective video reviewing process with a tool like frame.io, which would help expedite the process of creating and reviewing a video by potentially 2x. And this way, they'd be able to double their output of videos. Double the videos means double the revenue. So once again, another one of those point of sale services that would have a high unitary value. Now, let's talk about the market environment variables. It's becoming a big trend on YouTube today to have a huge focus on thumbnails. Because to be honest, simply changing a thumbnail can make the exact same video get 2, 3, 5, 10 times the amount of views it was originally getting. And it even works for old videos that were published years ago. Meaning, if you simply help them create new variations of thumbnails to test for their new videos, and for all the existing ones, you can make some of their old videos pop off again and even go viral, while also increasing the performance of the new ones. This is a super easy way to fulfill service and extremely valuable for content creators because once again, the more views that they get, the more revenue. And this is one of the easiest ways to generate them more views. Listen, I have an entire department in my company that all they do is rehash our thumbnails to find new variations with better performance. Now, another thing that all content creators are experiencing today is decreasing AdSense revenue. And most of those creators depend on that money. So that's a huge pain point for them. And there's a few possible solutions here. First, helping them create new revenue streams through online programs. So your entire service could be helping those creators to structure the curriculum of an online program and creating the infrastructure for them to sell those online programs. And the basic setup for this is actually quite simple. And if you get good at the skill of monetizing their audiences, you can make millions with this. Another option is to set up multiple affiliate partnerships for that creator. Let's say the creator talks about productivity. You could set him up as an affiliate for meditation apps, project management software such as Monday or ClickUp, or even for very high ticket products like saunas or cold plunges, where you can make thousands of dollars in affiliate commissions for each sale. And finally, you can help them develop their own brand of physical products. That might be supplements, planners, notebooks, all of which are super simple to set up. And there are many companies that you can use to white label all of the work. Now let's go to the last layer of variable here, which is the macro environment. A big trend that is happening in the market right now is users moving away from long form content and increasing the consumption of short form content. And with that, you could create a network of short form accounts on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and create clips out of their long form content and then redistribute that content into hundreds of short form clips on all social media platforms. And this can help them increase their reach by 10 to 20x if done right. Again, I have an entire department of over 20 people at my company, which is all they do. Now, the thing is, I can afford to have those 20 people full time. Most people can't, and that's where your service can come in because it's way more advantageous for them to outsource that work to you rather than have 20 people full time just doing short form clips like they do for me. Then we have AI technology. Here, you could help them speed up the process of video creation, cut down in transcription by implementing an AI tech stack that's gonna save them thousands of dollars a month that's currently being spent on freelancers. So just with this quick thought exercise, we came up with 10 different blue ocean services that you could offer for your clients, all of which have a high unitary value and that can easily get you to $10,000 a month with just a handful of clients. If you spend a few hours on this exercise, you're gonna come up with things that never would have crossed your mind otherwise. And even better, that has never crossed anyone else's mind. And that is the exact fundamentals you need in order to start your own cash flow business. Now, I know what you're thinking. All of this sounds great. I know how to find these blue ocean pockets of the market and exactly what to offer them. However, I don't know how to fulfill any of those services myself. And that's completely fine because you don't need to do that yourself. And in the next part of this video, I'm gonna give you the exact step-by-step process on how to get all of these services fulfilled for you by someone else without ever having to pay anything out of pocket. And when you use one small loophole that I'm about to show you, you are able to provide thumbnail design without even knowing how to use Photoshop or any of the thumbnail softwares. You're gonna be able to provide short form content without knowing how to edit videos. You're gonna be able to provide transcription services without speaking any other languages. You can essentially provide any service without knowing how to actually do that service. And that is the real beauty of this business model. That's the exact same loophole that a bunch of regular 20-something-year-olds are using to generate results like this on a daily basis. You see, they all successfully created their own cash flow business and became cash flow masters themselves. And if you too want to become a cash flow master so that way you can afford to live a lifestyle of financial location and time freedom, well, here's how to do it. Here's a step-by-step process on how to actually do this in practice, aka become a cash flow master. So, the first thing that you need to do before you even go through any of the steps is to really understand what you are doing here. And what we're doing is very simple. We are getting clients and providing them with blue ocean services that have a high unitary value to generate free cash flow for us. And it's funny because most people never realize that if you have clients and you provide them with a service, you're essentially an agency because that's what an agency does. Provide clients with a service. Now, whatever that service is and who that client is, it doesn't matter. What matters is that you are working as an agency. So that brings us to the conclusion that every service-based cash flow business is essentially an agency. Now, most people think that an agency means running ads or creating videos, which is far from the truth. Because all of the most successful agency owners I know don't provide any of those services. And that's what we covered here today. So now that you understand what we're actually doing here, let's jump to step one, and that is setup. And here's where you basically get to choose the name of your own agency. You don't need to overthink this step because it won't hold you back at all. I mean, in fact, The name of my own agency didn't even make sense. It was called IG Media, but we didn't do any media. I started off as a creative agency, but I pivoted within a year. So we were really an advertising agency, yet I had a name that had nothing to do with it. So just pick a name and roll with it. Now I will say preferably try to avoid your initials or your name. That actually ended up being something that did hold me back later, but as long as you don't have your last name or your initials in it, then you're good. But just pick one and roll with it. Now the next step is to buy the domain for your agency name and set up your business email. And that's pretty much all of the startup costs that you have. Now the reason you want a business domain is that way when you're reaching out to clients through email, you want it to look as professional as possible. So no @Gmails or @Hotmails here. And to be honest, you don't even need to build a website for your agency in order to get started. Back in 2017, I scaled to 15 grand a month with my agency with no website. So there we go. First step is done. Then we move on to step 2, and this is where things start to get interesting. Because have you ever looked at how the big scale agencies actually operate? You know, the ones with all the swanky offices and hundreds of employees. They have a very simple business model. They pay their employees $15 an hour, and then they charge their clients $50 an hour and simply pocket the difference. They simply figure out how much to charge a client based on the number of hours that the project will take and how much that they're paying their employees. And then they add an extra 100 to 300% markup on top of that. And that's literally their entire business model. And what we're gonna do is something even smarter. Instead of hiring an expensive marketing graduate with no real experience and having to deal with all of the risks that come with a typical employment relationship, such as fixed payroll and long time frame contracts, we're gonna hire a contractor who already has experience with the service we're offering, and we're gonna do so on a per service basis. This means that in the first place, we won't have any risks on our end because we're only gonna pay our contractor once we already get paid. So that way you will literally never have to pay anything out of pocket. And that is what I call contractor arbitrage. And it is exactly what the companies of the new arbitrage economy do. I mean, think about it. Whenever a new driver registers to Uber, Uber as a company doesn't have any added risk to it because this driver literally doesn't cost them any money, all while adding potential new revenue to them. And it's only after the driver generates such revenue that Uber pays them their fee. So it's pretty much just free cash flow for their company. And we're doing the same thing here because you get paid by clients at the beginning of the month and then you pay your contractor at the end of the month after they deliver the services. This way, you will never run into cash flow issues and you will never have to pay anything out of pocket. And the craziest part in all of this is that it's actually cheaper to hire an experienced contractor who speaks impeccable English from countries like South Africa, New Zealand, Peru, Colombia, Brazil, Indonesia, Philippines, and a bunch of others than it is to hire someone who just graduated from a marketing university in the US and literally has zero experience. I mean, just to give you some perspective, my CMO at IG Media was from Colombia, and he worked with me for over 4 years. And my lead media buyer at my agency was from Brazil. He started off as an intern, then became the lead media buyer, and then he went on to become the CMO of my education company. I personally have hired multiple contractors from South Africa, Brazil, Serbia, the Middle East, and so on. And you can come up with different deals, but the way our students usually structure their deals with their contractors is they pay them anywhere from $250 to $1,000 per month per client, and then they charge these same clients anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000 per month. Now, when me and my first full-time contractor first started working together, he was charging me $600 per month per client, and I was actually selling those services for $3,500, $5,000, and even $10,000 in one specific example. And you can work this out depending on your retainers and the amount of work that each client requires. I personally suggest never go below 70% margins to keep your cash flow business as profitable as possible, because at the end of the day, the sole purpose of this operation is to keep majority of what we make. And the best part is that you're really making a real difference in the life of contractors, because if they were to work these same jobs in their own countries, they would work way more and make 5 to 10 times less when they're getting paid in their own country's currency. Now, I will say I am always transparent with contractors regarding how much I'm charging clients, and I suggest you do the same. The next question is, how do you find a contractor to work with you? It's simple. You find them online. You can look in a lot of different places like LinkedIn, Upwork, or even other business related and job listing social platforms, but by far my favorite place to find them is on Facebook groups. You can find Facebook groups closely related to the topic of your service, like Facebook ad buyers or SEO ninjas. And these places are crowded with potential contractors. I mean, think about it. If someone is actively engaging in Facebook groups to develop their expertise and knowledge, that's a pretty good sign. And again, if you're providing thumbnail design services, for example, you don't need to search for thumbnail designers. You simply search for regular designers and you tell them to create thumbnails. They all know how to do it, and it's as simple as that. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. The best type of groups with the highest quality of contractors are actually the closed communities for info products and softwares that teach what you offer as a service. So for example, paid groups that teach Facebook ads or SEO or whatever your service is. And usually you can get your job listing posted in those groups by contacting the admins, because it's in their best interest to offer job opportunities to their students/customers. So that is how you take advantage of contractor arbitrage to get all of the service fulfillment taken care of by an experienced professional, and how to do it without having to do any of the work yourself. It is a truly beginner-friendly plug-and-play business model. So do you now see why literally anyone can do this? And I mean anyone. Just like Premek, who just hit 25,000 in monthly recurring revenue and 21 active clients with his agency in just 10 months with this business. I mean, how awesome is it that this beginner-friendly business model is allowing people to make 5 figures a month from the comfort of their own home, from countries all around the world? It's nuts. Now, with that done, we finally get to our third and last step, which is reaching out. Here, you're gonna start reaching out to potential clients and presenting them what you have to offer. Remember, if you take advantage of contractor arbitrage, you will not have to deliver any work yourself. So, outreach is where 80% of your time should be spent as a cash flow master. This is the key to everything you want in life. Now, I want to make sure that you assign the majority of your time to do this task. There's people in my program who have 2 hours a day, and there's people who have 8 hours a day to build their cash flow business. Whatever the number of hours you have, use them well here. With that being said, there are a few main ways to do outreach. There's cold calling, there's cold email, there's video audits, there's LinkedIn outreach, and there's Instagram outreach. And those are just 5 out of dozens of tactics you can use to set meetings with potential clients. The key here is to pick the one that best suits your personality. And you can see this is how I got all of my initial clients, through sending video audits. After sending 2,000 plus video audits, I've perfected a formula that I'm going to give you step by step in just a second. And this is actually a plug and play directly from one of my old paid programs. It's called the Targeted Loom Plug and Play. Now, Loom is a program that allows you to record your screen and webcam easily, and it's the best one to use for video audits. I mean, I remember back in the day, and I'll even get my team to find this inside of my own YouTube. I still have videos up from 2017 of me putting the camera down. I would put the camera down, I would do like a video audit presentation. I'd plug that into my computer, I would edit it up, and I'd throw it on YouTube. And I did that for many years before I found out about Loom. So it's definitely a very, very powerful tool if used correctly. Now, this plug and play is a step-by-step breakdown of exactly what to say when sending a video audit to a prospect. And this is the exact strategy that Jordan used to quit his 9-to-5 job and sign 8 e-commerce clients to his agency, getting him to $20,000 a month in under 6 months, working less than 8 hours a day. And I even added 3 live examples of me sending audits to various niches using this framework. Now, I'm gonna go ahead and email this same plug and play directly to you after you watch this entire video. It's gonna make your life 100 times easier. Trust me. Now, once you start sending Loom audits, business owners will start responding positively to your outreach. And then what you should do is jump on a call with them, present your offer, and close them on the spot. The real key here is to not be afraid of charging what you're worth. Forget what it costs you to fulfill the service or the time it takes you. Focus instead on what it is worth to your prospect to have their problem solved. Remember that most small to medium-sized businesses have monthly costs of $20,000 to $100,000 a month. That local gym you go to probably spends $30,000 a month on rent, employees, and insurance. And if you follow my advice of working with online businesses, they'll have even more cash laying around because they are far more profitable than the average medium-sized business. So I'm telling you right now, an extra $3,000 a month for you to design their thumbnails or create short-form content doesn't exactly faze them. Business owners want to spend money on you because they see you as an investment and understand the return that it brings. So when you choose your niche and service correctly, you should be able to charge anywhere from $1,500 to $10,000 a month. Exactly just like Daniel, who just collected $30,000 from a single deal. Or my 15-year-old student, Edvin, who just signed an $11,400 deal just 6 days into his new agency. Now, I know this all sounds super exciting, but a word of warning. If you try to do this alone, you'll probably spend a few months initially figuring out how to make this work. And this could happen because you picked the wrong niche or service, you don't know what to look for when hiring a contractor, you might even make a few specific mistakes in your outreach efforts that could get your response rate close to zero. But if you can solve these problems, the rewards are definitely worth it. Because the reality is, there is unprecedented demand for these blue ocean services since most businesses started moving online. And there is simply not enough people to fulfill such demand. So if you ever wanted to be early for something big, this is it. And now is the time for you to become a cash flow master yourself by starting your own service-based cash flow business. So the question becomes, how can you get results like this? Like the dozens of people that I showed you here in this video. So let's reverse engineer this. Instead of trying to think how to get results like this, let's think about what you need to not do to get results like this. If you wanted to fail, what would you need to do? Well, you'd start a business that doesn't match your career timing, and then you'd choose an enterprise value-driven business model and become a revenue hostage, and then you choose a red, bloody, crowded market to service with a lot of competition, and then you would get no help and make all of the mistakes on your own, and you would keep doing the same thing you've always been doing and that hasn't been working for you. So if we want to succeed, all we need to do is just to do the complete opposite of that. At this point, you already know what is the right business for your career timing, that you should start a cash flow driven business instead of an enterprise value driven business, and thus become a cash flow master yourself. And you also know how to find the right blue ocean services to provide. Now, you essentially have two options. Option one is trying to figure out everything on your own, not getting any help and learning from your own mistakes. And that is exactly what we just mentioned that you do if you wanted to guarantee failure. Now, if you've ever tried to do anything online before, you know that the devil is in the details. And it's trying to figure out those little details by yourself is the very thing that gets you stuck and stops you from achieving success. And you and I both know that it is virtually impossible to cover all of those little details in just 50 minutes here. So choosing that option would essentially mean that you'd be giving a shot at failure. And even if you do succeed with that path, long term, it's probably going to be more expensive considering that you'd miss out on all of the extra money that you could have made if you had started out the right way from the get-go. And that is why I want to provide you with the second option, which is the in-depth plan. It is a 45-hour-long masterclass on how to start your own cash flow business from scratch and scale it to $10,000 a month with sky-high profit margins. That plan is Agency Accelerator. And that's your second option, choosing to join the program with the best success stories in the industry. This option is the smart option if you want to cut your learning curve by years and get the shortcuts that I discovered while trailblazing this industry and walking the long path myself. So if having this in-depth, step-by-step proven plan to go from $0 to $10,000 a month with your agency is something that you're interested in, let me show you now what you get inside of Agency Accelerator. You see, every single success story you've seen during this video has gone through this program, where we take complete beginners with no previous experience in business, and we help you create your own cash flow driven agency from scratch. Then hire contractors to deliver the services for you and show you our plug and play process to get clients on demand who will pay you $1,500 to $10,000 a month. Because when you do it with help from experts who have walked the path that you want to walk, it not only goes faster, but it also ends up being cheaper long term. And just a bit of well-placed advice can get you unstuck and give you the confidence by having a proven process to follow. Not to mention, it's just so much more fun to do it this way. So if you have a minute, let's look at what you get inside of Agency Accelerator. Agency Accelerator is way more than just a course. The course is just a part of it. It is the best result-oriented learning experience that you will ever have, period. Agency Accelerator is composed of over 40 hours of step-by-step training covering every aspect of building a cash flow-driven agency from scratch. It is almost a plug-and-play system. We cover in excruciating detail the whole process of finding leads, reaching out to them, selling, signing clients, getting paid, onboarding clients, hiring a contractor through arbitrage, getting them to fulfill their services. I mean, this program has everything covered for you. The program is broken down into 6 phases. Phase 1 is foundations, and here's where you're basically going to learn how to set everything up. That is how to choose a service to offer, how to choose a niche, how to get paid, how to prepare yourself to onboard clients, basically everything you need to get up and running. And then I thought to myself, well, who would be the best person to help me teach how to set up your agency properly so that way you're setting yourself up for success from the get-go? And who better to teach that than the person who gets to see the inner workings of thousands of agencies every single week? Agencies with 1, 5, 10 clients, all the way up to dozens of clients. And that someone is Pierre, who's the co-founder and my business partner at Flozy, the super app for agencies to run their operations, their billing, their client communication, their website, everything. I mean, just so you understand how much insight Pierre has into other agencies. Last time I checked, there were over 378,000 invoices paid through Flozy. That is 378,000 times someone sent a client an invoice for a service and actually got paid. And Pierre gets to see how each one of these agencies sending these invoices operates. So he's going to be teaching you alongside me in phase 1, which is foundations, as well as phase 5, which is systems and processes. Then we move on to phase 2, mindset. And this is where I show you what mindset you need to adopt in order to succeed in this game, how to prepare yourself mentally, how to structure your days, and all the mindset stuff that's just as important, but no one talks about. Because it doesn't matter if I give you all of the tactical and strategic content if you can't apply it, because your mindset is limiting you. And that's exactly what our student Tate experienced himself. In his first 4.5 months in the program, he got no results. In his next 4.5 months, he signed 10 clients. And as he wrote himself, strip away the bad habits first. It's more about what you're doing than what you're not doing. And that's exactly what we're going to go through in this phase. I'm personally going to help you identify all of the limiting beliefs you have ingrained deep inside of you that stop you from succeeding. And I'm going to show you step by step how to unwire those beliefs and build new ones that allow you to unlock your successful self. Now in phase 3, we move on to outreach. So here we get, once again, into the most important aspect of this business. And I'm going to be very honest with you. I have done a lot of outreach in my time. I'm probably in the top 1% of agency owners who have done the most outreach in their careers. The thing is, I eventually stopped doing outreach simply because, and this is something you're going to experience, after enough years in the business, you basically just get to work off of referrals. You're basically well known enough that your clients just bring you more clients. And for the last few years of my agency, that's how I operated. It got to a point where I didn't really need to do outreach. And we also started running ads to a case study funnel to get clients for the agency. And between those two things, I just didn't really need to do outreach anymore. So I wanted to get someone who had the complete opposite skill set of mine. I wanted someone who was a stone cold expert at outreach. So I thought to myself again, who could that person be? And I took the same approach here as I did with Pierre. Who better to teach outreach if not the guy that owns the very tool, that owns the software that all the agencies use to do their outreach? Lemlist. So that's why I brought on Guillaume, who's the founder of a multi-$100 million software called Lemlist. Just so you understand, Lemlist is the tool that pretty much any single agency that considers itself a serious agency uses for cold outreach. Just in the last 30 days, the outreach messages sent through Lemlist have generated $118 million in deals for all types of clients and services. And Guillaume gets to see the content of literally each one of those messages. So he knows better than anyone on earth what works and what doesn't when it comes to cold outreach. And most importantly, he knows exactly what's working today for your niche and your service. And he's going to teach you how to do outreach and get clients on demand for you. After this phase, getting potential clients interested in working with you will never ever be a problem again. And then we go into phase 4. And here, it's an interesting one as well. I personally think, and I've said this for many years, that out of all the aspects of running an agency, sales was the one that I was worst at. But still, that didn't stop me from turning my life around with that business. The thing is, I usually worked with a small handful of clients at any given time. I mean, the maximum we ever went up to was 10 to 12 clients simultaneously. And that's because I focused on working with a smaller number of clients that we had large performance deals with. So less amount of clients, but we were paid very handsomely on the back end deals that we had with them. So for that reason, I didn't really hop on that many sales calls. I was just very good at making a no-brainer offer. I wasn't the best at sales, I wasn't the best at persuasion, I wasn't the best at objection handling. I just put forward an offer that just made a lot of sense. And that was my specialty for many, many years. So because of that, I wanted someone who was world-class at this to teach you every single detail you need to pay attention to when it comes to sales. But not just any type of sales, agency sales specifically. And that's why I brought not just one, but 2 gentlemen to teach you agency sales inside of our phase 4 of Agency Accelerator. Their names are Matt and Josh, and together, Matt and Josh have over 350 active agency clients on their roster. That's like 30 times more than I've ever had myself. And they got so good at the entire client acquisition process that they're now at a point where they are buying agencies doing multiple 5 figures a month, rolling them up together, ramping up their sales processes, and selling them for multiple times what they paid initially. Listen, there's levels to this game, and you can definitely say that Matt and Josh are at the top of the agency game. And they're going to be personally teaching you how to sign clients on demand and sell agency services for 4, 5, and even 6-figure retainers. And this is the most in-depth phase inside of Agency Accelerator. And that's because if you get good at this, it's game over. It doesn't matter what you do, you are going to be rich, because you would have mastered the ability of getting people to pay you thousands and thousands of dollars every single month. And after going through this phase, all of your sales calls are going to be like this one from our student Matt. And by the way, not the same Matt that's teaching. He says $2,480 per month, 4 months minimum, 2 call close. The sale was made in discovery, almost zero resistance on the second call. Phase 5 is systems and processes. Listen, it's very simple. Just as important as being able to get clients is having the ability to keep them. And that is where me and Pierre will personally give you the systems and processes you need in order to keep clients for a long time. Everything from the perfect onboarding funnel to making sure that they have the best client experience from the get-go, all the way to how to communicate with them to make sure that they're always happy, to reporting, to automated billing, and every single detail that matters when it comes to providing your clients with A1 client experience. And here is where you're going to get a bunch of templates for your website, your onboarding funnel, and even step-by-step on exactly what to do in your first 100 days after signing a client. And here's where we're also going to go in depth on how to find and manage the best contractors to get all of the service delivery fulfilled for you without ever having to pay anything out of pocket. Phase 6 is inbound. Now, on the original plan that I gave you, phase 6 was actually service delivery. But inside of Agency Accelerator, you're going to see that phase 6 is not actually service delivery. And the reason for that is because I didn't feel like one phase was enough for service delivery. And that's because there are so many different services you can offer your clients. TikTok ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, conversion rate optimization, email marketing, copywriting, and so on. So what I decided to do was this. I've put together 3 entire programs for service delivery. The first one is Ad Architect by Justin Lalonde. Now, Justin actually started as a student of Agency Incubator, which is the second iteration of this program that I launched 4 years ago. And today, he runs one of the most successful paid traffic agencies in the world. And inside of Ad Architect, he will teach you how to run wildly profitable ads from scratch, even if you've never run a single ad in your life before. That includes Facebook ads, Google ads, and TikTok ads. The second one is Pen to Profit by my own CMO, Luis Berger. Now, as I said, Luis started as an intern in my agency, and today he's the brains behind some of the most successful internet campaigns and product launches. And the most interesting part of this is that he started as a media buyer, but it turns out that his most valuable skill turned out to be copywriting. And with his copy, he not only generated tens of millions of dollars for myself personally within my conglomerate of businesses, but he has also written the copy for sales videos for clients of ours, for client projects that I sold for $10,000, $20,000, and even $30,000 for a single sales video. And inside of Pen to Profit, he will teach you how to write the copy for these very same sales videos, as well as ad copy, landing page copy, sales page copy, and to be honest, whatever else you can think of. And finally, you're gonna get Inbox Insiders. Now, we just finished recording this program with Boyan, who's one of the top experts in the world when it comes to email marketing. Once again, he was a student of the second iteration of my agency program back in 2019, and he runs a wildly successful email marketing agency and has personally generated more than $50 million in sales for his clients through the emails that he writes. And inside of Inbox Insiders, Boyan will personally teach you how to run your own successful email marketing agency and make tens of thousands a month with it. So that way you get to pick and choose which service resonates the most with you, and you'll have a full-blown program going over it inside of Agency Accelerator. Now, does that mean that you don't get a phase 6? Not at all. You do get a phase 6, it's just not about service delivery. Instead, I made phase 6 about inbound marketing. And I'm personally going to teach you how to create a personal brand that attracts clients on autopilot for you. I'm going to show you how to create a content machine, produce content that actually performs on YouTube, as well as how you can get clients from Twitter. This way, you don't solely need to rely on doing manual outreach, but instead, you get clients coming and asking to work with you. And that is the power of inbound. And this is your plan to start a successful agency from scratch in 2024. Now, just so you understand, Agency Accelerator is priced at $1,995. Agency Navigator, which is the previous version of this program, used to sell for $1,500. So obviously with the new program, I had to make it more expensive. Plus, you also get 3 entire new programs inside of it for service delivery: Ad Architect, Pen to Profit, and Inbox Insiders. And these are not some simple one-phase bonus programs. They are fully fledged programs that can be sold standalone for $1,500 each. So in total, you're getting 4 programs. And if you were to buy them separately, you would pay $6,500 in total. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you all of the service delivery programs completely free inside of Agency Accelerator. So I was about to open enrollments at $1,995. But when I initially launched Agency Accelerator, we opened it up at $995, and we actually closed it off for the last few months. I didn't want to accept any more people. I just wanted to have our beta test group and just work with them to get the best results possible. And getting the best results possible is what we definitely did. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you a chance to get back in at the same price we opened it up when we initially did the beta launch. So today, if this video is still live on YouTube, I'm gonna go ahead and honor that $995 launch price. And by the way, that's not all. We plan on moving Agency Accelerator to a yearly subscription very soon. So that means that for people who wanna get continuous access to the program, as well as the exclusive mastermind community, the templates, the Q&As, and all of the tools, as well as all the coaching calls, they're gonna have to pay a yearly fee of $1,995. And by the way, I've already moved my lower ticket program, Digital Launchpad, to that model. So if you want to get lifetime access to the Agency Accelerator program, it's going to teach you how to build your cash flow driven business from $0 to $10,000 a month in record time. Well, then today is your best bet, because the truth is, a few days from now, this offer might not be available anymore. And just remember, right now in 2024, at this exact moment, we are living the best moment in history to start your own cash flow driven business. There was never before such a huge demand from businesses for this type of service. This means that the more you wait, the more you're losing out on the 4-figure monthly commissions that you could be getting paid today by your clients. And by the way, businesses have already included these services in their budgeting for the year. So this means that they're gonna spend this money either way. So if you're not the one getting paid the 4-figure monthly commissions, they're simply gonna be paid to someone else who decided to take action instead. So you can either be the one becoming a cash flow master yourself and getting what's yours, or you can be the one sitting back and watching others succeed. The choice is yours. So if you want to learn how to start a $10,000 a month service-based cash flow business from scratch, click the button below this video and get lifetime access to Agency Accelerator now. In case you have any questions that were not answered in this video, or you just want to use a different payment method that's not available on our checkout, you can go ahead and book a call with our student success team, and they will personally help you with your situation. Or you can simply send us a message on WhatsApp using the button on the next page. On that note, I hope you make the right choice, and I will see you inside of Agency Accelerator.
What do you think about a gold standard?
I mean, how much gold is there in the world?
It's limited supply.
Who told you that?
Well,
that's it.
Yeah. My philosophy, on that as well. It's that it's harder to mine to get to the extracts, basically.
Sure. It requires energy, right? It requires energy. So the value of the gold is correlated to the difficulty and the energy that it requires in order to get it. But how much is there, right? What's telling you that they're not stockpiling this motherfucker up and just controlling and manipulating the prices? JP Morgan, $2 billion in fines and lawsuits from manipulating the gold market.
And Credit Suisse.
It's fucked.
And everything that's being Credit Suisse, UBS in Switzerland. How do you action this information? So you notice you're a part of this system. You're already in the system.
You stop working for money.
So
you start working for purpose, and you start working to create income producing ecosystems. So if you're working and exchanging time, which is the most valuable resource that you have for an imaginary piece of money that anybody can make or anybody can print out of it. Imagine being so stupid that somebody's out there printing money. Somebody's printing money, and on the counter, you're working for it, and then you're getting taxed because they need your taxes in order to run the government when they could just print it. It makes no sense whatsoever. So stop working for money. Stop working for a paycheck. Start working towards a life that instills freedom and instills your ability to produce money without you having to work. Now, that may sound like insane for 99% of people. So where do you start? You start by not spending, right? You start by not being a consumer, but being a producer. So most people are consumers. That's why they're always in the rat race. If you're producing, you're always being able to generate income, but you don't want to be producing just with your time. You want to be producing with systems. Now you have AI, now you have automation, now you have software. Dude, you can literally be making money while you sleep. And if you think that's not real, look at all the digital companies that are running. They're making money while the owners are sleeping.
One, I think, limitation that people have sometimes when they start making money, they just end up blowing it, right? But you've really focused on that multiplication, the systems, the processes, which I've been trying to stay very abide by. Why do you think people get caught at that threshold and what are the ways you've been looking at scaling digital businesses so that you're able to continue growing?
So most people, let's say they have $100,000 in the bank account. They want to show off that they have $100,000 in the bank account. People that have $1 million in the bank account, they want to show off that they got $1 million. I don't want to show off. I don't give a fuck. I know what I have. I know what I'm worth. I know what my companies are worth. I know what my companies produce. I don't have to show it to anybody. I don't have to prove it to anybody. I just have to continue operating and understanding that I don't want to spend the initial capital that required time. Because I tell people, you don't buy things. Listen to me. You don't buy things with money. You buy things with the amount of time that it takes you to get that money. So for example, and I say it quite often, if you and I were to walk into a Louis Vuitton store with somebody that works at a McDonald's, they would look at that $500 wallet a lot more expensive than you and I would. Why? Because they think, oh, wow, $500? That took me how many hours of work?
A week.
Wow, that's expensive. For us, oh, well, you just make a couple bucks here and there, have it in some sort of automation. You don't value the $500 because it didn't take you a lot of time. So what you need to do is safeguard your time and understand that the time that you input is designed to liberate you, not for you to spend it liberating another person.
How do you build those systems? So you focus on e-commerce, but you've done other stuff in there with Capital Club. What's your philosophy, first principle philosophy of how you're building out systems that are generating you revenue long into the future?
So there's two things that you need to focus on in business. There's income producing tasks and risk mitigation tasks. So your risk mitigation tasks in business are your customer service representatives, your accounting, your budgeting, things that you can actually delegate or offsource or onboard somebody to take on. Then you have your income producing tasks, right? These are your sales. This is your marketing, the hands-on that actually generates money. Your goal is to, as soon as possible, anytime, whether you're reselling sneakers or whether you run a Forbes 500 company, your job is to not do the things that somebody else can do for you, right? So if you're flipping sneakers, go have a runner. Oh yeah, but I won't make as much money. Yeah, but you get to save time. Well, yeah, but why don't you value your time? Because you're not doing anything productive with that time. I get to hang out with the people that I love. I get to go out and go for walks. I get to biohack. I get to travel, and I'll pay somebody or give them a slice of the pie so that I don't have to do it. So as soon as you get started in your entrepreneurial journey, the first thing you need to do is start onboarding people that can take care of these risk mitigation tasks. Like, why are you answering customer service emails when you can hire somebody from the Philippines for $350, $400 a month, which is a good salary there, base entry level salary, to do it for you? They'll be happy, they'll be chilling, and now you have time to focus on what? Income producing tasks. And not even going deep into systems and operations, that's the first part. The second part is your KPIs, your key performance indicators, right? You need to know where you're going. Like, what's your objective? Most people want a fancy business in order to make money. Most people would say, oh, I'm going to build the next Uber. Dude, if your goal is to make money, you don't necessarily have to be a business owner. You don't have to be an entrepreneur to make money. If your goal is to become free, then why are you going to build a SaaS business that has tens of investors that you have to pick up the phone and be accountable to?
Yeah.
That's not freedom.
100%.
That's not freedom. And we see it rinse and repeat. I'll give you an example, which was a crazy one. Loom. Do you know the company Loom?
Yeah.
They're the screen recording company.
They just sold, right?
They just sold. And everybody's like, oh, they sold for $950 million. Go look at the faces of the founders and go look at the tweets that they were putting out, because they raised a ton of money. They didn't own a massive percentage of their company, and they slaved their motherfucking lives away for what? A couple $1 million paycheck? A lot of them said it wasn't worth it.
I first made my millions of dollars. The first time I ever became a millionaire was with Webcam Studio.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, this is how I first ever made money. I mean, I was a kickboxing world champion, but kickboxing's not boxing, right?
Yeah.
So I'd make like $100,000 a fight. You fight 2 or 3 times a year. You pay 20% to your manager. You pay taxes, but you're not rich.
So you get like 30 to 40% of the money.
Yeah, and I didn't consider myself rich. Like 30, 40 grand chunks, twice a year, maybe 3 times a year. Living in London, London rents, need a car. You're trying, like you're not rich in any way. And that's actually the reason I retired, because I woke up one day and I thought, I'm giving 6 hours a day of absolute focus and energy to this. And I believe I'm smart enough that if I put that much tenacity into something else, I can be a multimillionaire. I truly believed that. I was like, I've realized now I've reached the pinnacle of kickboxing. My choice is either to change over to MMA, which I was offered to do earlier in my career, but at the time the kickboxing contract paid more money. I had to pay the bills, so I went with kickboxing. change over to MMA, learn to wrestle, change over to UFC, blah, blah, blah. But this is also like 7-8 years ago where even the UFC didn't pay the money it pays now.
But the UFC still doesn't pay that much money from what I understand.
No, if you're like top 5 or champion, yeah. But most of the dudes you're going to see there in the prelims, they're getting 10 grand a fight, 9 grand a fight. It's nothing, right? So it'd be like starting my career all over again. And at the age of 28, I thought I don't have the gumption to start again. I've been through hell for this. I've broken my hand 8 times. My ribs have been broken. I don't want to do this all over again. So
what do you do when you realize that, hey, maybe I don't want to keep fighting?
I decided to get rich.
But what does that mean to you? When you're sitting there, you're getting, $30,000-$40,000 kind of net on a per fight basis. Is rich to you like, hey, I want a couple $100,000, $1 million, $20 million, $1 billion?
I wanted 30 or 40,000 every month.
30 or 40,000 every month, so about $500,000 a year, give or take.
I thought if I had that much money, I could do whatever I wanted.
Okay.
That's what I decided.
So what's step 1 that you do?
So step 1 is, maybe that's how we ended up here together, my friend. Step 1 is, decided to be very logical about it. Chess player, right? So I was like, I want money. What is money? How do banks work? How does credit work? What's fractional reserve banking? All these things we now know to be the biggest cons of the century, right? So I'm sitting there researching money for days and days and days. And then I get more mad because I'm like, whoa, money's trash and I don't have any. Now I'm really annoyed, right? I thought like everyone else did that, everyone puts their money in the bank and the bank takes some of other people's money and lends it out. I didn't know they invented it from the sky. I still at that point thought money was linked to gold. I didn't know nothing. So I'm learning all this stuff and I'm getting really angry. I'm like, now this is really annoying me. So anyway, I had a piece of paper there and I'm in my research phase and it start writing down some dude on YouTube. I don't know who he was, some dork. He was a pro gold guy. This is before, maybe Bitcoin was probably around then, but like early. He was a pro gold guy saying buy gold, buy gold, buy gold. And he was saying the difference between an asset, a liability, et cetera, et cetera. So I started trying to write down what I had. I was like, I have an apartment, I have a BMW. I'm in good shape, but I already use that for fighting. What can I do? I can play chess. I'm just writing down the things I have and what I'm good at. And then I kind of realized, I was like, I've got like 8 girlfriends. But because I was traveling the world, and if you win, you get a ring girl. It's kind of like she's banging the winner, right? You win a world title, you get to choose the ring girl you want. It's pretty easy, right? So I had a girlfriend in Slovakia, I had a girlfriend in France, I had a girlfriend in England, all these girlfriends.
Do they know about each other?
No.
Okay.
But they find out pretty soon. So I had all these girlfriends, so I'm like, maybe I could open a strip club and like be a pimp, be a gangster about it, And then that opening strip club
that's literally the first thing you thought about was opening a strip club?
Well, I thought I have these beautiful girls. How can this is before like Twitch existed. So I was like, what can I do with these hot girls? I was like, it's just an asset, right? There's these girls and a lot of them were messaging me. They thought I was this millionaire world champion. They all wanted to come London, live with me and thought I was a big boy millionaire and all this stuff. So it's like they do
because of social media.
Well, partially because of that, and also because they met me. I turn up, I fight, I win the world title, I leave. We're texting each other. They assume I'm this big boy, right? So I'm kind of like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I thought, man, I investigated strip clubs, way too much money. But this asset class of beautiful women was kind of on my mind for a few days. And then by absolute coincidence, I stumbled upon somewhere on the internet. I was on one of those websites we used to download like free games and bullshit from. And in the corner somewhere it said, hot girls want to talk to you now or something. I said, hot girls. So I clicked on that, not because I was interested, but because I thought I have hot girls. And it was one of those webcam websites. And I was like, so these girls sit here and talk to dudes for money. So I'm going to get my girls to
And they're naked, they're just talking. How does it work?
It's 50-50. I mean, it depends on the girl, depends what she wants to do. But the majority of the job is not based around being naked. The majority of the job is based on being entertaining and being easy to talk to. And the guys who are talking to you need to find you, that you need to remember their name, remember their dog's name. You have to be smart. You can't just be a girl and be a bimbo and be naked and make money. You have to be really smart, charming, interesting, happy all the time, positive. Mm-hmm. And I thought, I'm going to try this. So I messaged all 5 of my girlfriends, told them I had a job for them, explained to them what I was going to do. I was going to launch this company. 4 of them agreed. All 4 flew in, sat around the same table. They were all like, who's she, who's she, who's she? I'm like, well, you're all my girlfriends. 2 more left. And then 2 stayed. And that was the beginning of my little attempt at a webcam empire. And I put the girls there. And my role in it all was I did all the tech side of stuff, which is the first thing, of course. And then also, and I get called a pimp a lot, but and the reason I use the term is because I don't see it as a negative term. I see it as positively inspirational and motivating person. I'd motivate the girls. I'd make sure they did their job properly. If they had a bad day online, I'd come up with a good excuse for them. Oh, it's been a football game. It's been really busy. Don't worry. You're so beautiful. Don't be upset. You did better than her. You did the best today. I keep everything organized, put the schedules together, all that kind of stuff. And
is it hard?
It's hard because women have to want to work for you. Okay. Women have to want to obey you. That's what's hard. And you don't do that. This is one of the biggest misconceptions. I really want to clear this up. People in the movies and stuff, pimps are like aggressive, mean men. Complete opposite. Pimps are more like James Bond. James Bond's a pimp. He sleeps with a girl to get information. He doesn't care about her. He is absolutely and utterly a pimp. He doesn't hit her. He makes her love him. She does what he wants. He uses sex as a weapon to reward her, and then he disappears. That James Bond is absolutely and utterly a pimp. So I say pimp because everyone calls me a pimp online, tries to go, haha, you're a pimp, they're gonna get offended. It's like, no, beautiful women wanted to work for me, and they wanted to work for me because I displayed supreme competence. And they knew if they worked for me, they'd make a lot of money. So whenever I was out, I'd meet a waitress and say, well, look, you're working 10 hours a day for pennies. You can work 10 hours a day for me, make 10 grand a month, 20 grand a month. And over time, I just built up this big little empire of webcam girls. At one point, I had 4 locations, 75 girls working for me. And I was doing.
And we say locations, like, explain what goes into a location.
I just rent houses.
All right, so you rent a house, and in the house, you just literally, hey, go live here. There's like technology set up, and then you can basically just sit in front of the computer and literally be on the other end of one of these webcams, and guys are paying by the minute, by the hour, or whatever, to talk to you. It's their choice whether they are doing it fully clothed, just talking, getting naked, whatever, and then you're taking some cut of it.
Yeah, basically. So I had girls who would live in the house. And
that was pretty impressive. I just broke down the webcam business.
Bang, you done it, man. You nailed it.
No background information.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. You nailed it. So the girls who lived in the house would have set amount of hours they want to do, and then we'd have rooms that they could book in and do X amount of hours. A girl could come and do one a week or whatever. We'd have rooms they could share. And then, very much exactly like you said. They'd go online, they'd do their hours, they'd have their regular customers, they'd get their money. And then I'd take around half of the money, around 50%.
You take 50%.
Around 50%.
Okay. Is that high or low compared to the rest of the
Well,
industry?
I'll tell you why it's very low. It's low because every time a girl would quit and try and do it by herself, she'd make a fraction of the money overall. Because she hasn't got the instruction, she hasn't got the motivation, she's just lazy with it, right? And women have a very different mentality to money than men. If you show a woman how to make $1,000 in an hour, she'll think, I only have to work an hour a week. Whereas if you show a man how to make $1,000 in an hour, he thinks, I can make $18,000 a day. That's the difference between us. So if I had a girl working for me making $20,000, she got 10, I got 10. If she quit, she'd make 3 for herself, if that.
Well, I think it's going to make me happy. So you don't want money, what you want is happiness. No, well, I want money. Are you correlating money and happiness all in one conglomerate? Well, okay, Johnny, well, what is money? Well, I don't know what money is. Perfect. So if you don't know what it is, you don't know how much of it that you want, you don't really truly understand it, how are you supposed to get it? Oh, well, maybe you're going to teach me about money. That's not how it works. What I'm going to teach you about is about goals. Now, in life, you don't need 100 goals. A lot of people are like, they have goals, right? They have goals. But in order to have goals, you need to become an autonomous individual. You cannot conform. And the opposite of courage, because courage is what is required to excel in life. Write that down. Courage is what is required to excel in life. The opposite of courage isn't cowardice. The opposite of courage is conformity. Conforming to the 99%. That is the problem, is you conform what? To the status quo. Most individuals in life, they conform to the status quo. And the status quo is to be poor. The status quo is to be fat. The status quo is to be sad. The status quo is to be depressed. The status quo is to be a feminist. The status quo is to hate men. The status quo is to hate women. The status quo is to be a hoe. The status quo is to be an absolute peasant. Right, but that is the name of the game. The name of the game is you need to have goals in life. Now, it's very simple once you understand this principle. And the reason I know that this works is because I did it myself. A couple years ago, I said, I want to make $1 million. This was, I think, in 2015. I said, I want to make $1 million. My goal wasn't just to make $1 million, but was to figure out, first of all, what money was and what was the easiest way for me to make $1 million. I had to find and understand money. Before you select a goal, you must understand the ins and outs of every single goal, right, of what you want to accomplish. So you want a fit body? Perfect. You must study and understand what is required in order to have a fit body. People are like, I want to make $1 million, but then you don't stick to your goal. The problem isn't making a goal. The problem is being consistent, because unless you have consistency over a long period of time, you will not accomplish your goal. Accomplishing your goal takes time, it takes effort, it takes dedication, but it's proven that if you stick to your goal, you can achieve it. Some people, it may take 10 years, some people it may take 20, some people it may take 50. Very few, almost none, cannot achieve it. Now, your goal has to be established based off of your understanding of who you are and what you truly want. Now, if you're 5'1" or a midget and you say, I want to play in the NBA, well, there's a high likelihood you won't play in the NBA because your goal isn't realistic. But to me, and I truly believe this, it is highly realistic that anybody can make $1 million. I truly believe it. I have no doubt in my mind that anybody can make $1 million. To me, it makes no sense why you wouldn't. And the first goal that I realized that in order for me to do what I wanted in life, which was freedom, that's the goal, right? Freedom from the system, freedom from the bullshit, freedom from a master, right? Working a 9 to 5, somebody that feeds you for your time. We're going to talk about time. I'm going to teach you guys how to measure money. Write that down, Anthony. Teach people how to measure money. I'm going to teach you guys how to measure money. It's important to understand that your goal can't be canceled out by another 100 things that you want. So if you want 6-pack, right? You can't eat donuts. You can't drink soda. You can't not exercise. You can't not do crunches. Why? Because then you won't be able to accomplish your goal, because you're selecting a ton of other things that you want to do that go against your goal. A lot of you guys say, well, I want to make money, but you don't do the things that are required in order to make money. What are those things? Education, community, hustle, reducing distractions, eliminating bad habits. These are all little things. But these little things over a long period of time will compound, because consistency compounds. It is a principle of the universe, right? And once you understand this, you understand that every brick that you lay will eventually turn into a big picture. When you zoom out, the question is, do you have the blueprint of what you want to build? If the answer is no, then why the fuck are you building? Why the fuck are you building? Well, the reason you're building, right, is because you want to accomplish a goal, but most people build with no purpose. You would never build a house without a blueprint, or without an architect that it's already built the house before you that can show you how it can be built. You not only need a blueprint, but you need somebody that has been able to accomplish that blueprint before. That's why I'm talking to you, because I've done it. You can understand that it's a verifiable source. Because I've done it, I can show you what I've done. I can't show you to do what I haven't done, right? But I can show you to do what I've done, because it's a replicatable business model. And it's a business model because it's a mindset model. So in life, you get exactly what you put in. That is a very basic principle of life.
Guys on the panel, what is your description of a moneymaker in 2022? Something you could consider, like, you know what? If you're young coming up in life, what can you do to make money right now?
That's a good question. I can answer. Do you want? Should I go first?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right. I think that we live in an attention economy. I think that people who can garner attention are going to be good at making money one way or another. I think we now live in a world where you have spectators and you have people who produce. The world is split in a binary divide between the two. And not everybody is designed to be a producer. Some people are designed to be a spectator. Obviously I am a producer naturally by heart, because I've lived a very diverse life. I have a lot to say, and it doesn't matter what I consider. People consider my words valuable, obviously. So here I am. But if I was a spectator, let's say, and I didn't feel like I had the confidence or the knowledge or the charisma to sit on a camera and interest people, then I would try my very best to prove myself useful to a creator. And by joining their ecosystem and working alongside them, that's probably the best and easiest way to make money. There's a whole bunch of people out there that have the star factor, but they don't have the systems and the teams around them to truly be successful. So I would come along and say, listen, you can be the showman. I'll be the blood and guts underneath, and we can do very, very well. I truly still believe, as fucked as the world is with the matrix and the suppression and the inflation and the Fed and all the shit we talk about, if you're a person who can turn up on time with a firm handshake, who is genuinely competent, who doesn't lie to anybody, you're going to be fine. You're never going to starve. You're always going to be able to make good money if you're a genuinely honest, hardworking person. I've never met a honest, hardworking person who will be there at 9 a.m. like you asked them to be, who completely fails. So I think a lot of people who are still out here failing, they have a bunch of excuses. And yeah, we talk about how hard it is, and it's true. But if you're genuinely about it and you can find somebody with that star factor and align yourself to them, I think you can make money no matter who you are. That's, I think, the best way to make money.
So basically be a YouTuber.
It's not about being a YouTuber. It hasn't even got to be a YouTuber. It can be anything. It can be you can find a fucking star salesman and find a way to help his ass. I'm saying you don't always have to be the star. The biggest mistake a lot of people make is, and especially in the Western world, because I talk about this all the time. I was speaking about this with somebody else. I was saying America's strength and its weakness is the same thing. America's strength is that everybody is taught they're so unique and special and valuable. And that's why you guys do but this is why America does so fantastic in, let's say, the Olympics, right? Because everyone believes that they can be a sports star and everyone works so hard, etc. This is why you have so many talented people, so many creatives, so many movie directors, etc. Because everyone's told they're fantastic. But the truth is not everybody's fantastic. And the people who are not fantastic end up frustrated. And that's why you have so much fucking crime, rob a bank, get rich or die trying, gangsters, gangbangers. Because there's a whole bunch of people in America who think they're too good for a job, and they are really not too good for a fucking job. That's the truth. Whereas if you look at other cultures, it's the difference, right? If you go to Asia or you go to some of these other places, you'll go to school. The very talented kids will be taken to the side. You're the top 1%. You're going to a separate class. And if you're not put in that separate class, you know you ain't shit. You're just like, okay, I'm working in the factory. Yes, sir. That's my job. And you're just going to do your job because the ego ain't there. So the ego is a fantastic thing for America, but it's also a detriment. So it can play both ways. But
I think
I don't ever sit and concern myself with, am I spending too much? If I thought I was spending too much, I would simply find a way to make more money. And a lot of people talk about efficiency as well. I've had people talk about working smart, not hard. That is true. But I believe that you need to fill your day with all of the hard work first. I think that working smart is a matter of being more efficient with all the time you should spend working. If you sit there and go, I want to work smart, not hard, so I work an hour a day, well, then you're still lazy. You should work smart and hard and do 15 smart hours a day. That's how you win. So, and there's always endless work to do. The other thing I will say to people is you can always find work. I've had a lot of people say, well, there's no work to do. Yes, there is. You can find work to do. This podcast, by the time it's completed, you could make individual TikToks and put them on TikTok.
And we will.
With a slightly different edit for the next 10 years if you wanted to.
100% all the accounts.
There's endless work to do. You have to find the work. And even if each TikTok gets one view, one at a time, people hear about the podcast. There's no such thing as no work to do. Yeah. So you have to wake up and find the work to do and do it and just say, you know what, this is all I'm going to do. And a lot of it as well, if I'm giving advice to people, comes from constructing a life around you. Because people say, well, I don't want to work all the time. I have no social life. My social life's work. My best friends and me run our companies. We have the most fun in the office working. That's our fun, right? And my woman's there and she's making us coffee. My relationships work. It's all work. Like it's all done. So I don't have to separate things and compete against each other. Like that makes you ultra competitive. But yeah, I think all of my income's disposable and I have no respect for money. Money for me is a tool and I use it to get whatever I want and bend the world.
So from what you've seen, what do the most successful students in the real world have in common? And what do the failing students have in common? What is a specific trait or characteristic that separates these two types of individuals?
It's actually interesting because I can compare this to my webcam days. But it's the same with webcam, it's the same with fighting, it's the same with the real world. Brutal determination and consistency is nearly impossible to beat. Back in the webcam days, I had a girl who was shit. She made no money. But she'd sit there and she'd do 12-hour days and she'd smile and she'd have fun regardless. It's very hard for girls to perform when no one's tipping them, no one's giving them any money, when their room is empty. To sit there 12 hours and talk to yourself and not get moody is very difficult for a female. This girl, for the first 3 months, she didn't give a shit. She'd sit there with one person in her room and laugh and smile. And guess what she ended up being after 3 months of being nobody? The number one girl. She ended up being the number one, beating the professional girls. Because the professional girls were like, my room's quiet now, and they expect X amount, and they expect it to be easy. Same with fighting. I knew people who weren't that talented, but they were just at the gym every day. They just ran further, they just trained harder, and they just ended up being world champions. That's how it gets. You cannot beat consistency. The person who does what they're supposed to do day after day, regardless of how they feel, is going to be the person who wins. The people who are the most successful in the real world are the people who wake up every day and work. If you're the person who wakes up, does work, is fantastic at it, but then takes 3 days off, you're going to lose. They say that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That is completely true. You have to be consistent. You have to decide. Are you the kind of person who wants to make a lot of money in this life and live a life of freedom?
Or you're the kind of person who wants to look back when he's 30 on his 20s or 40 on his 30s and look at that decade and go, what did I do with that decade? Well, I didn't get rich. I didn't travel the world and live like they do in Tate Confidential. What did I do? Well, I had a day off here, a day off there, a bunch of nothing days that amalgamate into this decade of nothingness, and you're just wasting your time. If you want to win, you need to be consistent. You don't need to be the smartest, not at all, but you have to be the guy who's there day after day. And I guarantee you, I will guarantee you right now, IQ has nothing to do with how successful you'll be as a real world student. What is going to determine how successful you're going to be is, are you there every single day? Are you doing what you're supposed to do day after day? I can also apply this to sales. I knew guys who were terrible on the phone. Back in my day on sales, you used to have to call companies. I was smooth, I was the best. We had some other guys who were smooth. They'd land a deal, go buy a nice car, whatever, take a few days off, take it easy. We had people who were terrible. And when I say terrible, I mean they had a thick Indian accent, didn't speak English that well, didn't know the script that well, didn't know the answers, but they were always in the top 20% of the company because they just hammered the phone. They just were on it. They needed to feed their family in Bangladesh. They didn't give a fuck. They were just calling. That's it. Day after day. When you're on lunch break, he's on the phone. You can win with hard work alone. That's what's amazing about the universe when I say that. God will give you anything you truly want. If you truly want money and you truly try hard, and you truly listen to us, you are going to have as much money as you can possibly ever desire. But if you think you want money, but you kind of want something else, or if you're arrogant, or if you're lazy, you're going to end up somewhere in the middle if you're lucky and talented. And if you're not talented, you're going to end up at the bottom.
Mindset is your key to everything. Absolutely everything. Join the top G's on Patreon.